Chapter 1554. As the night deepened, no one could be seen on the plains outside Peach Blossom City. However, the city was bustling with noise and excitement. The streets were decorated with lanterns and streamers, and there was an endless stream of people. All the restaurants were full of guests. Outside the city, the river of bone erosion. A young man covered in blood walked out of the entrance of the Devil's Land and stood in front of the stone bridge, looking at Peach Blossom City. Not only was there blood on his body, even his hair and eyes were blood red, emitting a monstrous killing intent. Tonight, Peach Blossom City will no longer be peaceful. The blood-soaked young man muttered to himself, stepped onto the stone bridge, and walked towards Peach Blossom City step by step. That's right. This person was Qin Feiyang. At this moment, his cultivation had soared to the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm. But when he reached the middle of the stone bridge, Qin Feiyang suddenly stopped and looked down at the stone bridge. His eyes were filled with surprise. The confrontation between Xueqi and the willow tree was enough to destroy mountains and rivers, but the stone bridge under his feet did not even have a crack? What was it made of? He leaned down and touched the stone bridge. A chill immediately flowed from his palm into his arm and finally swept through his entire body. But after careful observation, he found that this stone bridge was actually made of the most ordinary stone. However, in this stone bridge, he could vaguely sense the aura of divine power. Come to think of it, this stone bridge had been tempered by divine power, which was why it was so hard. After figuring out the reason, he stood up and continued to walk towards Peach Blossom City. Not long after, he walked to the city gate and scanned the city wall. The city wall was more than 10 meters tall and was completely black. Every stone brick emitted an ancient aura. When he looked at the ground under the city gate, killing intent surged in his eyes. On the ground, there was a purple-gold divine dragon totem. The entire totem was embedded in the ground. Whether it was people entering or leaving the city, they had to walk over the totem. But there was no one guarding the city gate. Preposterous. Qin Feiyang's eyes were tightly clenched. Swish. Suddenly, a figure silently rushed out. It was Willow Tree. He stood beside Qin Feiyang and looked at the totem on the ground. He said in a low voice, "I just received news that Xueqi massacred the people of the Heavenly Sun Empire and the main tower. This has alarmed the upper echelons of the two forces. Now, 2 false gods are preparing to come to Peach Blossom City." False god. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent as he asked, "I remember you once said that Peach Blossom City does not belong to any faction." "Yes." Willow Tree nodded. "Since it doesn't belong to any faction, why is there Great Qin's totem here?" Qin Feiyang said. "This?" Willow Tree hesitated. "Speak." Qin Feiyang said. Willow Tree's gaze trembled as he quickly said, "I am not the only one who understands the Heavenly Sun Empire's intention in doing this. Everyone in Peach Blossom City is well aware of it. However, no one took it to heart. After all, Great Qin is nothing in the Black Tortoise world. Moreover, there are no people from Great Qin here. To put it bluntly, what does Great Qin's totem being trampled on have to do with us? We naturally won't offend the Heavenly Sun Empire because of a totem. Therefore, everyone has an indifferent attitude." Willow Tree explained. "Humph." Qin Feiyang snorted through his nose. Willow Tree couldn't help but panic and said, "Should I deal with this totem immediately?" "No need, I'll do it myself." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and a purple-gold dragon chi appeared, instantly erasing the totem on the ground. He then said, "Take me directly to the Heavenly Sun Empire stronghold." "Okay." Willow Tree nodded and opened a teleportation gate. "Change your appearance slightly." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he stepped into the teleportation gate. Willow Tree took out an illusory form elixir and changed into the appearance of a middle-aged man. He hurriedly followed in. Qin Feiyang asked him to change his appearance for his own good. Because, once the Heavenly Sun Empire's people saw Willow Tree, they would definitely drag the Nether Hall down with them. Swish! In the next instant, Qin Feiyang descended in front of a huge building. It was a magnificent palace that was more than 100 meters tall. It was dazzling with gold and jade and had an extraordinary aura. In front of the door, there were 2 middle-aged men guarding. They had the cultivation of 8-star combat emperors. Above the door, there was a 5-clawed golden dragon that was more than 10 meters long. Its entire body seemed to be cast in gold and it looked very lifelike. On the ground in front of the door, there was also a purple gold divine dragon totem. Everyone who entered or exited had to step on it. Willow Tree appeared immediately. He glanced at the two middle-aged men and pointed at the five-clawed golden dragon above. That is the Heavenly Sun Empire's totem. Who are you? This is the Heavenly Sun Empire's stronghold. Please leave immediately. The two middle-aged men glanced at Qin Feiyong and Willow Tree, raised their eyebrows and shouted. If it's not the Heavenly Sun Empire's stronghold, I wouldn't have come. Qin Feiyong smiled coldly and waved his hand. Flaming battle chi rolled out and blasted towards the five-clawed golden dragon totem. Presumptuous! The two men roared. Get lost! Willow Tree shouted coldly and his divine power roared out. What? He is a false god. Enemies are coming. Be alert! The two men's expressions changed and they immediately shouted. Whoosh! Immediately. Figures kept flying out of the main hall in front of them. When the people on the nearby streets heard the news, they also rushed into the sky and stood in the sky, looking at the Heavenly Sun Empire's stronghold. It's him! That unfamiliar young man. Didn't he enter the Devil's Land? Why is he in Peach Blossom City? Wait! Look at his cultivation. He is actually a peak 9-star combat emperor. Why do I remember that when I saw him not long ago? He was only a 6-star combat emperor. Everyone was in an uproar. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Flaming battle chi roared in the sky and those who flew out couldn't stop it in time. With a loud bang, the five-clawed golden dragon totem and the entire palace collapsed in an instant. Bastard! How dare you cause trouble in my Heavenly Sun Empire stronghold? One figure after another rushed out of the dust and smoke, all of them bristling with anger. Willow Tree hurriedly reminded, Young Lord, you can't kill people here. Otherwise, it will cause public outrage. Public outrage? That's just because I'm not strong enough. Qin Feiyong sneered and flew up 90,000 miles. Standing in the sky above the city, his flaming battle chi rolled and the sky seemed to have turned into a sea of fire, shining in all directions. Willow Tree smiled helplessly and could only follow. Who are you? Why did you destroy my Heavenly Sun Empire's stronghold? A white-haired old man looked at the destroyed palace and his eyes were filled with anger. He raised his head and stared at Qin Feiyong as he shouted in a stern voice. I'm the one who wants your lives. Qin Feiyong said coldly. Arrogant. The white-haired old man was furious. He looked at the crowd and said, Everyone saw it with their own eyes. It was this person who started it first. Therefore, you can't blame my Heavenly Sun Empire for killing people in the city. You're a madman who does evil. You deserve to die. Someone shouted. The rest of the people nodded. The white-haired old man smiled coldly and waved his hand. A group of people suddenly rose into the sky. There were more than 30 people in total. Without exception, they were all peak 9-star combat emperors. Such a lineup was actually quite terrifying. However, they were still a little lacking in front of Qin Feiyong. Cripple him for this old man. The white-haired old man shouted. The 30 people immediately burst out with monstrous emperor aura and charged towards Qin Feiyong. A group of ants dares to jump in front of me. All of you die. Qin Feiyong's eyes were like lightning. He used the phantom step and like a ghost, he swept behind one of the people. He quickly raised his arm and his 5 fingers were like an eagle's claw. He grabbed the person's head and crushed it on the spot. Screams resounded through the night sky. Fresh blood splattered on the ground. You dare to kill people in the city? Too much, too much. The people roared. Ah! Another scream rang out. A middle-aged man in white was smashed by Qin Feiyong's punch. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere. This person is really terrifying when he goes crazy. Willow Tree muttered. Use battle arts and fighting souls. The white-haired old man's pupils contracted. This young man's strength was much stronger than he had expected. Upon hearing the white-haired old man's words, the rest of the people immediately retreated. They used battle arts and activated their fighting souls. Every battle art was a perfect battle art. Every fighting soul exuded an aura that could destroy the world, shaking the world. But Qin Feiyong's expression did not change. He took a step back and stood in front of Willow Tree. He raised his hand and pointed. An invisible force suddenly surged out. The void was distorted at this moment, and the divine power rolled through the sky. The fourth move of the void returning art, void returning. It's actually a divine art. The white-haired old man's expression changed and he roared, "Retreat!" At the same time, he rushed into the sky and stood in front of the invisible force. His hands immediately formed a seal in front of his chest. Qin Feiyong was surprised. Willow Tree said, "His name is Mu Doru, the main person in charge of the stronghold in Peach Blossom City. He also has a divine art." Qin Feiyong suddenly understood. No wonder this old thing dared to come and block the way. It turned out that he also had a divine art. Roar! All of a sudden, a beast's roar resounded through the sky. In front of Mu Doru, a huge ferocious beast roared and charged out. It was a giant tiger. The fur all over its body was like satin, shining with golden light. There was a king character between its eyebrows. It was like the king of all beasts had descended, and its divine power intimidated everyone. The giant tiger roared and pounced at the invisible force with a terrifying ferocious might. The two divine arts collided with a loud bang. A terrifying shockwave instantly surged out in all directions. Oh no, the city will be destroyed. Where's Elder Willow Tree? Right now, only he can stop this shockwave in Peach Blossom City. Get him to come out and help. Everyone roared. However, the people of the Nether Hall were also confused. This was because they did not know where Willow Tree had gone. Boom! Just as everyone was about to escape, Willow Tree, who was standing in the sky, finally made his move. He took a step forward and stood above the city. With a wave of his hand, the shock wave that was rushing towards the city instantly disappeared. Who is he? He dissolved the shock wave with a wave of his hand. Is he also a false god? Everyone was surprised. Chapter 1555. Poof. The stalemate lasted for a moment. Mu Daru spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out like a kite with a broken string. His face was pale. He looked at Qin Feiyong again. Although his face was pale, he stood in the void and did not move half a step. So strong. Mu Dao looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. They were both divine skills and both were at the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. How could he lose? There's no suspense. Willow Tree looked at Qin Feiyong and then at Mu Daru. He could not help but shake his head and mumble. But suddenly, Qin Feiyong's body shook violently. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. What's going on? Willow Tree's eyes widened in disbelief. Mu Daru's face was also full of shock. Wasn't he fine before? Why did he suddenly become so weak? Could it be that he was also seriously injured and was just enduring it? Swoosh! Suddenly, Qin Feiyong turned around and flew out of the city. Stop! Seeing Qin Feiyong running away in a panic, Mu Daru was even more convinced of his thoughts. In the previous collision, this man was seriously injured. He immediately let out a stern shout and chased after Qin Feiyong with extreme speed. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you running now? You want to leave after killing someone? How can it be so easy? The rest of the people from the Tianyang Empire, including the 39-star combat emperors who were at the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm, roared angrily and chased after him. Let's go and watch the show. Seeing this, the people from the other forces followed one after another. Willow Tree naturally followed, but his eyebrows were tightly knitted together. What was the young lord doing? He did not believe that Mu Dao could seriously injure Qin Feiyong. Because he knew Qin Feiyong very well and had many tricks up his sleeve. To put it bluntly, if they were to fight seriously, Mu Daru would not be Qin Feiyong's opponent. But why did he choose to run away? Wait. Suddenly, Mu Daru, who was chasing after Qin Feiyong, seemed to have thought of something. His body shook violently, and then he slammed on the brakes and stopped in the void. He turned his head to look at the willow tree, his eyes full of vigilance. This person seemed to have come with the young man? Don't worry. Even if you kill him, I won't do anything. Willow Tree said calmly. It could be seen that Qin Feiyong didn't want him to intervene now. Otherwise, he wouldn't have turned around and left. That's good. Mu Dao heaved a sigh of relief and continued his pursuit. Night fell. The originally deathly silent plains suddenly became lively. Qin Feiyong streaked across the sky like lightning, landed on the stone bridge, and then rushed into the Devil's Land without looking back. Not long after, Mu Dao also brought a group of people and chased into the Devil Land. However, as soon as they entered the entrance, they were all stunned. Where is he? Hundreds of miles ahead, there was not a single person in sight. What they didn't know was that Qin Feiyong was right above them. Inside the castle, Qin Feiyong looked at Mu Dao and the others on the screen. His eyes were full of ridicule, and then he took out the image crystal. But suddenly, he was startled, and then he couldn't help but smile bitterly. What? The white-eyed wolf looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyong said, I want to send a message to Lu Xingchen, but I suddenly remembered that Lu Xingchen is dead. Then send a message to Mu Qing. I remember that you have established a contract bridge before. The white-eyed wolf said. Whoosh! Suddenly, two ear-piercing sounds could be heard. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and the image in the void turned to the direction of the depths of the Devil's Mountain range. His eyes suddenly flashed with a flash of light. In the image, two figures broke through the air. Who else could it be but Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang? Although Mu Tianyang was only a vague silhouette, his speed was extremely fast, shuttling through the night sky with Mu Qing. A good show is about to begin. The corner of Qin Feiyong's mouth lifted. He put away the image crystal and appeared above the entrance. The people outside also noticed Mu Qing and Mu Qing. So he was waiting for Mu Tianyang. Willow Tree suddenly realized. The others didn't know and thought that they were just passing by. When they saw Qin Feiyong appear, they immediately retracted their gazes and looked at Qin Feiyong. Kid, if you have the ability, continue to run. Mu Dao smiled sinisterly and directly soared into the sky, slapping at Qin Feiyong with his palm. The others of the Tianyang Empire were afraid that Qin Feiyong would escape again, so they all soared into the sky and surrounded Qin Feiyong. Hey! Qin Feiyong secretly smiled. While fighting with Mu Dao in the void, he transmitted a message to Willow Tree. Watch carefully. If anyone mentions the Tianyang Empire, kill them immediately. Yes. Willow Tree secretly responded. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. From the beginning to the end, he hadn't used his full strength. Not only did he not use his full strength, but he also deliberately made himself look very embarrassed. Lord, is that Qin Feiyong? The battle at the entrance immediately attracted Mu Qing's attention, and she asked in surprise. Bang! Bang! Boom! The battle looked very fierce. Qin Feiyong's appearance was indeed very disheveled and flustered. He can't beat them? Mu Qing stopped in the void and watched for a while, then she transmitted a message to Mu Tianyang. It seems that the Qi and Blood Pearl has really been shattered. Otherwise, he would have taken it out long ago. No. He didn't use his full strength at all. Can't you see that he has no injuries at all? This bastard is obviously playing with those people. Mu Tianyang snorted coldly. Mu Qing took a closer look and found that it was indeed so. Seeing that Mu Qing and Mu Dao were indifferent, Qin Feiyong said angrily, How long are you going to stand there? Come and help. This time, everyone finally began to look at Mu Qing and Mu Dao seriously. These two people were actually this person's accomplices? Wait, what was wrong with that person? Why could they only see a silhouette? Everyone looked at Mu Tianyang, their eyes full of surprise. Because they were far away before, they only noticed that two figures were flying this way. But they didn't realize that Mu Tianyang was an energy body. Seeing that Mu Qing and Mu Dao were still motionless, Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and pushed Mu Tianyang away with a palm. Then he broke out of the encirclement and ran to Mu Tianyang and Mu Dao. What do you mean? Didn't we agree to cooperate? He glared at the two of them. You still have the nerve to ask us what we mean? I haven't asked you yet. Do you know how we escaped from the hands of that golden divine leopard? It chased us for tens of thousands of miles. Do you know how dangerous it was for us at that time? If it weren't for Lord's great ability, I'm afraid we would have died under its claws now. Mu Qing said angrily. It was an accident. I thought that Willow Tree could subdue it. Who would have thought that Willow Tree was so weak that it was seriously injured by the golden leopard at the beginning? Qin Feiyong transmitted his voice and laughed embarrassedly. Mu Dao sized up Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang and suddenly shouted, Since they are his accomplices, then kill them together. A group of people immediately charged towards the three of them. Qin Feiyang said, "Did you see that? Even if you didn't attack, they wouldn't have shown mercy." "It's all your fault." Mu Qing glared at him. "Don't be like this. Do you know who they are? They are from the #1 force in Peach Blossom City. As long as we kill them, we can get a lot of treasures, including that divine artifact." Qin Feiyang instigated. Mu Qing's eyes lit up when she heard about the divine artifact that could be compared to Chang Shui. Mu Tianyang's heart was also burning with passion. "Don't dawdle. Hurry up. They still have a false god on their way. If we don't get rid of them first, it will be even more troublesome later." Qin Feiyang shouted and turned around to attack Mu Dao. Mu Tianyang looked at Qin Feiyang's back and said in a low voice, "You are too weak. Go to the castle and hide first." "Yes." Mu Qing nodded. Mu Tianyang waved his hand and Mu Qing immediately disappeared. Following closely, he took a step forward and charged towards an old woman. This person was also a 9-star war emperor. "You're courting death." The old woman didn't put Mu Tianyang in her eyes at all. "Who's courting death?" Mu Tianyang let out a sinister laugh as a terrifying aura burst out from his body. "What? False god." The old woman's eyes trembled as she turned around and fled. When the rest of the Tianyang Empire saw this, they also fled frantically without looking back. Mu Dao originally wanted to fight Qin Feiyang, but when he saw Mu Tianyang's strength, he immediately turned around and fled. "You only know how to run now?" "Too late." Mu Tianyang smiled disdainfully. The energy body collapsed and turned into a jet-black iron chain, instantly entering the back of the old woman's head. "Ah!" Accompanied by a scream, the old woman's head exploded on the spot. But this was only the beginning. The iron chain pierced through the air like a reaper, and it entered another person's head like a bolt of lightning. "Ah!" A series of screams resounded through the sky. One by one they fell down. Seeing Mu Tianyang crazily slaughtering, Qin Feiyang simply stood at the side like a bystander, watching a good show. In less than 10 breaths, more than 30 people were completely wiped out. Although Mu Dao had a divine art, he was not spared and was crushed by Mu Tianyang. What a terrifying strength! "Who are they?" Everyone was scared silly. A portion of the people even began to flee in a panic. Willow Tree's eyes flashed as he transmitted his voice. "Young master, the people who are fleeing are basically from the Tianyang Empire." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and pointed at those people who were fleeing. "And them, don't let them escape." After saying that, he took the lead to pass through the crowd and kill those people. "Is it necessary to go through so much trouble to deal with these small fries?" Mu Tianyang's contemptuous voice echoed in the void. The next moment, the iron chain that he had transformed into collapsed and turned into tens of thousands of strands. They were like strands of hair that covered the sky and earth as they shot out. "Ah!" Accompanied by a series of shrill screams, those people who were fleeing fell one after another and died. "Amazing!" Qin Feiyang gave a thumbs up. "Humph!" Mu Tianyang condensed his energy body and snorted from his nose. "I'm not like you, as long as it's an enemy, you have to quickly kill them." "Yes, yes, yes." Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly. "You all deserve to die." Suddenly, an angry roar sounded, shaking the heavens and the earth. Boom! Then, a terrifying divine might rolled toward them like a giant wave. "It's him." Willow Tree looked at the sky above the plane and transmitted his voice to Qin Feiyang. "Mu, he is here." Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened and secretly said to Willow Tree, "Now is a critical moment, there can't be any accidents, so as to avoid too many people talking and exposing Muhi's identity. Immediately take everyone here and stay away from us." Understood. Chapter 1556. After Willow Tree left with his men, Qin Feiyang immediately looked at the sky above the plains. Although it was already late at night and the moon had not come out, he could clearly see a middle-aged man rushing towards him with a murderous aura. The middle-aged man was about 1.8 meters tall. His body was thin and he wore a long robe. His hair was mottled with white hair and he was filled with vicissitudes of life. Qin Feiyang smirked and said to Mu Tianyang, "As long as we kill him, those treasures will be ours. Let's go." Finished. Qin Feiyang took a step forward, landed on the stone bridge, and rushed towards Mu He. In the bag. You're wrong. It's not ours. It's mine, Mu Tianyang's. Mu Tianyang secretly sneered and quickly chased after Qin Feiyang. As soon as he stepped on the stone bridge, he noticed something strange. However, at this moment, there was no time to investigate or ask. He followed closely beside Qin Feiyang. Very soon, the two of them met Mu He. Mu He said angrily, "Who are you people? How dare you destroy my Tian?" He was about to say that they actually dared to destroy his Tianyang Empire's stronghold. But Qin Feiyang interrupted him and shouted, "Enough nonsense. Today, not only will we destroy your territory, we will also kill you." Of course, he would not let Mu He say it. Because once Mu He revealed his identity, his plan would have to be announced as a failure. Although he had killed many people from the Tianyang Empire, they were only small fish. This Mu He in front of him was the big fish. So no matter what, he had to let Mu Tianyang kill Mu He with his own hands. Only when Mu Tianyang killed Mu He with his own hands would his painstaking plan not be in vain. Arrogant. Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Mu He was instantly furious. "I'm arrogant. What can you do?" Qin Feiyang's eyes were overflowing with blood as he decisively used the 4 moves of the Ruins of the End and charged towards Mu He. An ant trying to shake a tree? How naive and laughable. Mu He smiled disdainfully. With a wave of his hand, the power of the false god surged out and blasted towards the invisible force formed by the 4 moves of the Ruins of End. Accompanied by a loud rumble, the invisible force was instantly annihilated. Qin Feiyang felt hot in his throat. He knew that things were not good. He hurriedly entered the ancient castle and immediately spat out a mouthful of dragon blood. "How is it?" Yu Huang stepped forward and asked with concern. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. "The strength of a false divinity is too strong. Without the blood chi pearl, it will be difficult to fight against it. Get ready. We might need your help later." Outside, Mu He scanned the void in bewilderment. He had actually disappeared without a trace? Could it be? Suddenly, his eyes were filled with intense greed as he stared at Mu Tianyang. Mu Tianyang said, "I do have a spatial divine item, but it depends on whether you have the ability to snatch it." Mu He sized up Mu Tianyang and his eyes suddenly widened. He said in surprise, "You're actually an energy body condensed from divine sense. You couldn't have been a war god in the past, right?" Swoosh. Qin Feiyang appeared again, and the blood at the corner of his mouth had been wiped clean. He said proudly, "That's right, he's a war god, so you'd better be sensible and obediently kneel and beg for mercy." TSK. 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 Mu He was speechless. But then his face was full of disdain. "So what if you're a war god? It's just a few strands of divine sense now. I can destroy them with a wave of my hand." Arrogant. Mu Tianyang was furious. He took a step forward and blasted a palm at Mu He with surging divine might. Mu He smiled coldly and punched without hesitation. The power of the false god surged. Boom. With a loud sound, Mu Tianyang's energy body immediately collapsed and let out a low groan. Obviously, Mu Tianyang was severely injured by Mu He. But before Mu He could laugh, the collapsed divine sense turned into a deadly iron chain again, and went straight for Mu He's lower abdomen. Humph! Mu He seemed to have expected it. He snorted and reached out his right hand at lightning speed. He grabbed the tip of the iron chain and exerted force. With a clang, the tip of the iron chain shattered and turned into nothingness. Damn it! Mu Tianyang roared and quickly retreated to Qin Feiyang's side. He condensed his energy body and said, "He destroyed a strand of my divine sense. I can't play with you anymore." Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned to look at Mu Tianyang and found that Mu Tianyang's energy body was indeed thinner than before. He could still see a silhouette before. But now, he couldn't even see the silhouette clearly. It seemed that Mu Tianyang didn't lie. A strand of his divine sense was really destroyed by Mu He. In that case, Mu Tianyang only had 2 strands of his divine sense left. He became excited. If he attacked now, he might be able to take the opportunity to completely destroy Mu Tianyang. No. Although they were in a cooperative relationship now, with Mu Tianyang's character, he definitely wouldn't let his guard down. Once he attacked, he would definitely enter the space divine item immediately. Qin Feiyang said to himself, then you go to the space divine item first. I'll let Willow Tree and Yu Huang attack later. Once there's a chance, you immediately come out and kill him. Yu Huang? Mu Tianyang was stunned and asked, who is Yu Huang? Qin Feiyang grinned and waved his hand. Yu Huang immediately appeared in front of them out of thin air. What? A demigod-level dire beast. This bastard, when did you subdue it? Mu Tianyang was shocked. Qin Feiyang stared at Yu Huang as he smiled. Old brother, whether we can obtain victory today or not, we will have to depend on you. Leave it to me. Yu Huang laughed. The color of his body quickly changed as he merged into the void and charged toward Mu He. Mu He's eyes narrowed slightly as he sneered. So you have a pseudo-deity spirit snake. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. However, if you think you can kill me with just this pseudo-deity spirit snake, then you're dreaming. Divine sense rolled out and covered all directions. Although Yu Huang changed the color of his skin and merged into the void, Mu He's divine sense was still pervasive. Soon, he caught sight of Yu Huang's trace. He attacked forcefully and slammed his palm into the void. The void distorted. A giant tail appeared out of thin air, carrying a deafening sound of wind and thunder as it blasted toward Mu He's hand. Boom! The giant tail and the hand collided in an instant. Mu He was immediately sent flying, the skin on his arm lacerated. Yu Huang also appeared from the void. At this moment, its figure was over a few hundred zhang tall, like a magnificent mountain, standing in the sky with a ferocious aura. However, in the previous confrontation, its giant tail had been shattered by Mu He's palm and blood splattered everywhere. That's all there is to it. What's there to be arrogant about? Yu Huang laughed disdainfully. How dare you? Mu He roared. His imposing manner was like a rainbow as he rushed forward. You're the one who's being presumptuous. Yu Huang snorted coldly. Its huge body shook the void as it charged toward Mu He. The two demigod-level existences immediately engaged in a fierce battle in the sky above the plane. This Yu Huang can't be the phantom snake that you subdued in the Kirin army commander's residence, right? Mu Tianyang asked in surprise. How is that possible? The phantom snake emperor's cultivation is still far from the demigod level. Qin Feiyang said. Mu Tianyang asked, then where did you subdue Yu Huang? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he said, we'll talk about this later. Now, go to the spatial divine item and secretly look for an opportunity. Once you find the opportunity, you must kill it in one blow. Mu Tianyang looked at him deeply and then disappeared. In the spatial divine item. Two demigods. Lord, Qin Feiyang's foundation is getting more and more terrifying. Mu Qing said in a deep voice. Yes. If this continues, I'm afraid that even I will have to respect him. Mu Tianyang sighed. This person was growing too fast and it was too late to stop him. Mu Qing looked at him and didn't say anything. He didn't expose him. In fact, Mu Tianyang had long been in awe of Qin Feiyang, but he didn't realize it. Perhaps he had already realized it, but he didn't want to admit it. Boom! Crack! The battle outside was getting more and more intense. The plains had been destroyed, and it was a scene of devastation. But Peach Blossom City was still intact. Qin Feiyang looked at Peach Blossom City suspiciously, and his pupils suddenly shrank. He saw a red-haired old man standing proudly on the city wall, protecting Peach Blossom City. Willow Tree said that the main tower and the Heavenly Sun Empire both sent demigods. Could he be the main tower's demigod? Qin Feiyang murmured. The red-haired old man seemed to have sensed something and also looked away from Yu Huang and Mu He to Qin Feiyang. That pair of eyes seemed to be condensed from divine fire, extremely eye-catching in the night sky, giving people a sense of oppression from the depths of their souls. Qin Feiyang was actually afraid and didn't dare to look directly at him. However, this kind of fear was instantly suppressed by him, and he looked at the red-haired old man without dodging. The red-haired old man looked a little surprised. He seemed to be surprised that Qin Feiyang dared to look directly at him. It's best if you don't interfere in my dispute with the Heavenly Sun Empire. Otherwise, even if you're from the main tower, I won't let you go. Qin Feiyang secretly muttered, then turned his head to look at the Devil's Land and shouted, Come here quickly. His voice was like a bell, resounding through the sky. Ha! Mu He was startled. Could there be an accomplice? The red-haired old man also looked at the Devil's Land with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Who is he talking to? At the same time, in the sky above a mountain ridge in the Devil's Land, there was also a commotion. Willow Tree and others were gathered here. Except for Willow Tree, everyone else was whispering. Suddenly, Willow Tree took a step forward and soared into the sky. Ha! Immediately, everyone looked at Willow Tree in unison. One of them said, "Didn't you say that you won't interfere?" That was just a moment ago. Now that the young master has spoken, I definitely can't sit back and do nothing. Willow Tree smiled faintly, landed on the stone bridge, and rushed to Qin Feiyong's side like lightning. There's actually another fake god. Who the hell are you? As soon as He saw Willow Tree appear, he stared at Qin Feiyong in shock and anger and roared. Yu Huang shouted, "Cut the crap, today you will die without a doubt." Willow Tree glanced at He and secretly said, "Young master, you don't have to worry. With Yu Huang's strength, killing him is no problem." What do you mean? Qin Feiyong was taken aback and secretly asked. Willow Tree smiled and said, "Because Yu Huang not only has a divine art, but also a terrifying divine artifact." That's right. Chapter 1557. Wait. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong was stunned. He turned to look at the Willow Tree and said, "When you captured it in the valley, you didn't take away its divine artifact?" "Yes. But later, after I was captured by you, I returned it to it in the castle. At that time, you were looking for herbs outside and didn't see it." The Willow Tree smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyong couldn't help but laugh. The Willow Tree said helplessly, "Does this count as going for wool and coming home shorn?" "Sort of." Qin Feiyong nodded and said, "However, in order to prevent any accidents, you'd better take action and let Yu Huang show his divine artifact." "Okay." The Willow Tree nodded and suddenly rushed into the sky and shouted, "Yu Huang, the young master has ordered you to take out your divine artifact and kill it quickly." Divine artifact? He was shocked. "Human pet, don't talk to me in a commanding tone." Yu Huang glared at the Willow Tree fiercely, but he didn't argue too much. He quickly retreated to the Willow Tree and summoned his divine artifact. The Willow Tree was also furious when he heard the word, human pet. But in front of the enemy, he didn't want to be unreasonable. But the others. For example, He, the red-haired old man, and Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing in the divine artifact were all dumbfounded. Did they hear it wrong? The phantom snake actually called this person a human pet? What was going on? Clang! All of a sudden, an earth-shattering sound exploded between heaven and earth. The few of them trembled as they glanced at beaming Yu Huang. Their expressions drastically changed. They saw a palm-sized snake scale floating in the void in front of Yu Huang. The snake scale was as thin as a cicada's wing and was golden in color. It released a terrifying sharpness and even the void showed signs of breaking. A snake scale? Qin Feiyong was surprised. It could be seen that this was a real snake scale. But how could a snake scale become a divine artifact? Yu Huang roared, "Awaken together with me." Willow Tree nodded. His quasi-divinity energy surged toward the snake scales. The snake scales immediately released a world-shaking might. One man and one beast immediately took the snake scale and fought fiercely with He while reviving the snake scale. He's expression clearly started to panic. He shouted at the red-haired old man, "Wang Yuanshan, how long are you going to stand there? Quickly come and help." The red-haired old man glanced at Yu Huang and the Willow Tree before he leaped into the air. At the same time, Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He transformed into a beam of light and shot towards Wang Yuanshan, his eyes flashing with madness. He absolutely could not allow this person to join the battle. Suddenly, Wang Yuer's voice sounded in Qin Feiyong's mind. "Feiyong, did he just say the name Wang Yuanshan?" Qin Feiyong was startled and replied, "That's right, what's wrong?" Wang Yuer said, "My grandfather is called Wang Yuanshan, he's from the main pagoda, could he be my grandfather?" "What? Grandfather?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. "Yes. I heard from my grandfather that 10,000 years ago, my grandfather and the previous chief pagoda master entered the divine ruins together. At that time, your ancestor was also there. However, at that time, my grandfather's cultivation was still at the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm, and he did not go to the second level. Later on, my grandfather did not return from the divine ruins. My grandfather thought that my grandfather had already died in the divine ruins. Wang Yuer said. Qin Feiyang asked, "Have you seen your grandfather?" "How could I have seen him?"
"But I know what my grandfather looks like, because my grandfather treasures his portrait,"
Wang Yuer said.
Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Wang Yuer immediately appeared out of thin air, and said, "Quickly confirm it." Wang Yuer looked around and immediately noticed the red-haired old man, and her expression became excited.
"That's right.
It's my grandfather.
10,000 years ago, he looked like this."
After saying that, Wang Yuer flew towards the red-haired old man.
Once a person reached the 9-star War Emperor realm, unless they wanted to, their appearance would not change. But looking at Wang Yuer's actions, Qin Feiyang's expression changed, and he quickly chased after her. Although Wang Yuer recognized Wang Yuanshan, he had never seen Wang Yuer before. Seeing Wang Yuer fly over, he would definitely treat her as an enemy. As expected, when Wang Yuanshan saw Wang Yuer fly over, his eyes flashed with killing intent. Qin Feiyang hurriedly transmitted his voice. "Elder Wang, don't do it, she's your relative." Wang Yuanshan was stunned, and looked at Qin Feiyang with disgust, and snorted, "You're a 9-star War Emperor realm peak, and you actually used such a despicable method, how shameful." Qin Feiyang couldn't help but be annoyed, and thought to himself, "I didn't lie to you, she's your great-granddaughter." "Great-granddaughter?" Wang Yuanshan frowned and looked at Wang Yuer. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. "She's from the main pagoda, called Wang Yuer, and her grandfather is called Wang Su." "What?" Wang Yuanshan's gaze trembled, and he stopped in the void, looking at Wang Yuer in shock. Swish! Wang Yuer flew in front of Wang Yuanshan, and looked at the face in front of her that she had never seen before, and tears flowed down her face. Wang Yuanshan murmured, "Are you really Suer's granddaughter?" Suer was naturally Wang Su. Wang Yuanshan was Wang Yuer's grandfather, and Wang Su was Wang Yuanshan's biological son. "Yes." Wang Yuer nodded repeatedly, took off a jade pendant from her neck, and handed it to Wang Yuanshan. This jade pendant was only the size of a little finger, and it was dark green, like a cluster of alchemy fire. Wang Yuanshan looked at the jade pendant, and his eyes trembled. Then he took the jade pendant from Wang Yuer's hand, lowered his head, and looked at it carefully for a while, and his eyes became wet. Wang Yuer said, "I heard from grandfather that this is our Wang family's heirloom, so I've always worn it." "That's right.
This is the token of love between me and your great-grandmother.
Although it's just a piece of jade, it's extremely important to me."
"So before entering the divine ruin, I was afraid of dying here, so I handed it to your great-grandmother and asked her to keep it well until I returned."
Wang Yuanshan muttered.
"Grandfather."
When Wang Yuer heard this, she immediately jumped into Wang Yuanshan's arms. "Child, it's been hard on you." Wang Yuanshan was also very excited, and he hugged Wang Yuer tightly. It had been 10,000 years, and he finally saw his closest kin. "What's going on?" When the people of Peach Blossom City, Mu Qing, and Mu He saw this scene, their faces were filled with surprise and doubt. Wang Yuanshan suddenly thought of something, and he grabbed Wang Yuer's shoulder and asked, "Child, where's your great-grandmother? Is she okay?" "Great-grandmother, she has passed away," Wang Yuer said sadly. Wang Yuanshan's body trembled, and he said, "How is that possible?"
"Although your great-grandmother's cultivation is not as good as mine, but it's true."
"Back then, when she saw that you didn't return from the divine ruin, she became depressed and cried all day long. In less than 2 years, she passed away at home."
"Grandfather told me this himself,"
Wang Yuer said.
"Dead."
Wang Yuanshan muttered to himself, as if he had collapsed, and slowly collapsed.
"Ah!"
Suddenly,
he lay in the air and roared in pain. "I've let you down.
Why did I enter the divine ruin back then? I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Did you meet your family?" Looking at Wang Yuanshan's appearance, Mu He's heart skipped a beat. If that woman was really Wang Yuanshan's relative, the situation would be bad.
"Grandfather, don't be like this.
I believe that great-grandmother doesn't want you to be so sad for her in the underworld."
Wang Yuer squatted in the air and comforted him in a low voice. "No, I shouldn't have entered the divine ruin back then. If I didn't enter the divine ruin, I wouldn't be trapped here until now. Your great-grandmother's death is all my fault. Wang Yuanshan shook his head frantically.
Qin Feiyong sighed deeply.
Looking at Wang Yuanshan's painful expression, he could imagine how deep his relationship with Wang Yuer's great-grandmother was. He walked forward, looked at Wang Yuanshan, and said, Elder Wang, as the saying goes, the dead can't be brought back to life. What you did is meaningless. Besides, being trapped here is not something you can decide. What you should do now is to cherish your family. Wang Yuanshan's gaze trembled, and he raised his head to look at Qin Feiyong and then at Wang Yuer. His emotions gradually calmed down. He got up, wiped away his tears, looked at Wang Yuer, and asked, How are your grandfather and your parents?
They're all fine.
And grandfather also came to the divine ruin.
Wang Yuer said. Where is he?
Wang Yuanshan asked. Wang Yuer shook her head and said, He's not on the first floor. Wang Yuanshan said in surprise, If he's not on the first floor, doesn't that mean he's on the second floor?
Yes.
Grandfather has already broken through to the semi-divinity realm. The main reason he came to the divine ruin this time was to look for you. Because grandfather didn't believe that you would die here. Speaking of this, Wang Yuer smiled and said, But I didn't expect that I would find you first.
It's been hard on you.
Wang Yuanshan stroked Wang Yuer's head, his old face full of doting.
It's over.
They're really Wang Yuanshan's family.
Mu He's face was pale, and he wanted to get rid of the willow tree and Yu Huang and escape.
But the willow tree and Yu Huang also saw through his intentions and didn't give him a chance at all.
Wang Yuanshan glanced at Mu He and didn't have any intention of making a move.
He looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, Yuer, who is he? He. Wang Yuer glanced at Qin Feiyong and lowered her head shyly, her cheeks blushing.
Ah!
Wang Yuanshan was stunned. He looked at the two of them and revealed a meaningful smile. If he still couldn't tell, he would have lived for so many years in vain. Today you must die.
Yu Huang suddenly shouted.
Qin Feiyong and the others immediately looked over. They saw that the snake scale had mostly recovered at this moment and was crazily attacking Mu He. The surrounding void kept collapsing as if it was the end of the world.
No!
Mu He roared in horror. Boom! The snake scale arrived in an instant and directly blasted Mu He into the ground below. Dust and smoke billowed in all directions. He should be dead. Wang Yuer muttered. Wang Yuanshan shook his head and said, He won't die so easily. Qin Feiyong and Wang Yuer looked at Wang Yuanshan in surprise. Wang Yuanshan said, This Mu He cultivates a divine art called the God-Fiend Body. It can withstand a single attack from a divine artifact.
God-Fiend Body?
Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Wang Yuanshan nodded and said, That's right, but this God-Fiend Body can only be activated once a day. As long as you don't let him escape, you still have a chance to kill him.
He can't escape.
Chapter 1558. The Plains Below. Dust and smoke billowed, covering the sky and the earth. And in a certain place, Mu He was still alive. But at this moment, his face was full of fear and he did not have the courage to continue fighting. Furthermore, a teleportation door had opened in front of him. He was preparing to escape. However, just as he stepped into the portal, he suddenly felt a pain in his lower abdomen. Ambushed! He quickly lowered his head to look at his lower abdomen and saw the tip of a blood-stained dagger on his lower abdomen. Sure enough, he was ambushed. Who was it? He suddenly burned with anger and turned his head to look. He immediately saw Mu Tianyang standing behind him. However, he could only see a vague outline. He couldn't even tell if Mu Tianyang was a man or a woman. Mu Tianyang asked in a low voice, Tell me, where are you hiding your treasures?
What?
You guys are actually thinking about our treasures. Mu He was dumbfounded. He had really underestimated the intentions of these people. Hearing Mu Tianyang's voice, Qin Feiyong knew that he had succeeded. I said he can't run away. Qin Feiyong smiled at Wang Yuanshan and waved his hand. A gust of wind suddenly blew. The dust and smoke were quickly blown away. Mu Tianyang and Mu He appeared in front of everyone. So it's him. It seems that he has been secretly looking for an opportunity. Wang Yuanshan suddenly realized. Swish! Qin Feiyong took a step forward and landed beside Mu Tianyang. He looked at Mu He with a smile. You guys even dare to touch the treasures of my Tianyang Empire. You guys are definitely not ordinary people. Who exactly are you guys? Mu He stared at the two of them and shouted. Tianyang Empire. Mu Tianyang's gaze trembled and was extremely surprised. Qin Feiyang glanced at Mu Tianyang and the smile on his face became even brighter. Suddenly, he raised his hand and waved. A red sword aura swept out. Ah! Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, Mu He's head was separated from his body on the spot. A bowl-sized wound was bleeding profusely. Why did you kill him? Didn't you hear him mention the Heavenly Sun Empire? Mu Tianyang glared at Qin Feiyang. Dead. Lord Mu He was actually killed. Meanwhile, on the city wall, everyone was dumbfounded. They found it hard to believe that a false divinity would actually die in front of them. Quickly inform the people in the imperial capital that Lord Mu He has been killed by a traitor. There were also people from the Heavenly Sun Empire in the city. They took out image crystals and quickly sent the news back to the imperial capital of the Heavenly Sun Empire. As for Qin Feiyang, he looked at the current Mu Tianyang and smiled without saying anything. I asked you a question. Didn't you hear? Mu Tianyang roared. Qin Feiyang said, I'm not deaf. Of course I heard you. Then why didn't you answer me? What do you mean? Wait, why are you smiling so strangely? Could it be? You knew his identity long ago? Mu Tianyang was surprised. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. The Heavenly Sun Empire was considered a big force in the Black Tortoise world. Everyone knew about it and it was impossible to hide it forever. So, after Mu He's death, there was no need to hide it from Mu Tianyang. You know? Mu Tianyang was stunned and said, Then you know this Heavenly Sun Empire and my Heavenly Sun Empire. You are family. Because the people here are all your clansmen. Like the person who fell at your feet now. He is your clansman, called Mu He. Qin Feiyang smiled. What? Mu Tianyang looked dazed. His clansman? What was going on? Why were there his clansmen here? Mu He. He had never heard of him. Actually, the people here are all from the outside world. They multiplied here and created a new civilization. Among them, there are people from your Heavenly Sun Empire. And that senior Wang Yuanshan is from the main tower and is also Wang Yu's grandfather. Qin Feiyang laughed. Bang! When Mu Tianyang heard this, it was like a bolt from the blue. In that case, he killed his own clansman with his own hands? And there was even a false god? And Qin Feiyang knew all this and tricked him into making a move. Didn't that mean that this was a trap set by Qin Feiyang? Qin Feiyang. Thinking of this, Mu Tianyang roared and turned into thousands of strands, carrying a monstrous anger, and charged toward Qin Feiyang. Presumptuous! How dare you be rude to young master? You are courting death. But then, Yu Huang and Willow Tree roared at the same time and instantly stood in front of Qin Feiyang. The power of the false god rolled out and attacked Mu Tianyang's divine sense. In fact, they had expected that when Mu Tianyang learned the truth, he would definitely go crazy and attack Qin Feiyang, so they had been secretly accumulating power. This time around, they had made their move with the determination to die. Because from Qin Feiyang's usual attitude, it could be seen that Mu Tianyang had brought him a lot of trouble. So they wanted to take this opportunity to completely remove Mu Tianyang. In this way, Qin Feiyang would have one less big trouble. However, Mu Tianyang was not stupid. In the face of two false gods, there was no chance of winning. Therefore, when he saw Willow Tree and Yu Huang rushing over, he retreated without thinking. Want to leave? No way! Yu Huang roared. The power of the false god roared in all directions and instantly condensed into a divine force boundary, trapping Mu Tianyang's divine sense. This emperor wants to see how you can escape this time. Yu Huang sneered. Qin Feiyang, you are despicable. Mu Tianyang roared in the divine force boundary. Despicable? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, and then he chuckled. It's as you've said. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Only the winner has the qualifications to laugh until the end. Now, it's very obvious that I'm superior in this game. Mu Tianyang was silent. Although his face could not be seen clearly, he must hate Qin Feiyang to the core at this moment.
Qin Feiyong looked at Mu Tianyong and suddenly sighed deeply. To be honest, I am very grateful to you. Grateful to me?
Mu Tianyong was suspicious.
Yes, grateful to you. Because if it weren't for the pressure you gave me, I wouldn't have grown so fast. So I will let Yu Huang give you a quick death and avoid physical pain. After Qin Feiyong said, he looked at Yu Huang and nodded fiercely. Yu Huang laughed sinisterly and immediately acted. Boom. However, at this moment, a terrifying divine force descended. Following closely, a white-haired young man appeared out of thin air above the plane. This person looked about 25 or 26 years old. He was about 1.8 meters tall, wearing a white robe, his white hair fluttering in the wind, and there was an insufferably arrogant aura between his eyebrows. Mu Xingkong. As soon as they saw this person, everyone's face changed color and was filled with fear. Wang Yuanshan's pupils also contracted. Mu Xingkong. When Mu Tianyong heard this name, his body suddenly trembled and looked up at the white-haired young man. At this moment, if he could see his face clearly, he would find that his face was full of disbelief. Who killed Mu He? Mu Xingkong scanned the crowd, his eyes aggressive. Qin Feiyong was about to speak. But at this moment, Mu Tianyong roared, Xingkong, it's me, don't you remember me? At the same time, the dusty past involuntarily surfaced in his mind. In the past, when he was in charge of the Tianyong Empire, a shocking genius was born. This genius was Mu Xingkong. He still remembered. This Mu Xingkong used less than 300 years to step into the War Emperor realm, which caused quite a stir at that time. And because Mu Xingkong was extremely talented, he took special care of Mu Xingkong. No matter what Mu Xingkong wanted, as long as he could satisfy it, he would agree. Although at that time, Mu Tianyong was a noble emperor, the relationship between the two was that of a teacher and a friend. However, it was also because of Mu Xingkong's talent that his character was somewhat arrogant. That year, Mu Xingkong was only a 2-star war emperor, but he insisted on entering the divine sight. He was very persistent and couldn't be persuaded to turn back. Helpless, Mu Tianyong could only agree. But once Mu Xingkong left, he never came back. At that time, seeing that Mu Xingkong didn't come out of the divine sight, Mu Tianyong was sad for a while. But he didn't expect that Mu Xingkong was actually here. Not only was he alive and well, his strength had even reached the false god realm. And Mu Xingkong looked at Mu Tianyong and frowned slightly. Why was there a familiar smell? Wait, this aura, could it be? Chapter 1559. That's me. Mu Tianyong nodded. How did this happen? Didn't I hear that you've fallen? And why did you become like this? Mu Xingxing asked, looking very excited. Emperor? Wang Yuanshan was stunned. He looked at Mu Tianyong, and a name gradually appeared in his mind. Could he be the last emperor of the Tianyong Empire, Mu Tianyong? Facing Mu Tianyong's question, Mu Tianyong sighed deeply and said, It's a long story. Mu Xingxing didn't ask any more questions. He pointed to Qin Feiyong, Willow Tree, and Yu Huang and asked, Who are they? Mu Tianyong suddenly pointed to Qin Feiyong and said, He's the descendant of Qin Batian, Qin Feiyong. What? There was another uproar in the crowd. Even Wang Yuanshan was astounded. This child was the descendant of Emperor Qin? Wang Yuanshan asked, Is this true? Wang Yuan nodded. Gasp. Wang Yuanshan took a deep breath. He didn't expect this child to have such a powerful background. No wonder this kid started to scheme against the people of the Tianyong Empire. Mu Xingxing also looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. Mu Tianyong said again, This child's talent is extraordinary. He's even more outstanding than you were back then. He even revived the purple gold dragon blood and obtained the inheritance of Qin Batian. What? Purple gold dragon blood? The inheritance of Emperor Qin. Once again, everyone was deeply shocked. They looked at Qin Feiyong as if they were looking at a monster, full of disbelief. Boom. Suddenly, a monstrous murderous intent rushed out of Mu Xingxing's body. He said word by word, Since he's the descendant of Qin Batian, then all the more we can't let him walk out of here alive. After saying that, he swooped down and killed Qin Feiyong. No. Mu Tianyong hurriedly shouted. But Mu Xingxing turned a deaf ear to him, his eyes flashing with a shocking light.
With this emperor here, how dare you act so presumptuously?
Yu Huang was furious. He raised his giant tail and slammed it towards Mu Xingkong. The void twisted crazily as if it was about to split open. Willow Tree also rose into the air to meet Mu Xingkong. But suddenly, Mu Xingxing spun in the air and threw a punch at the barrier, his pseudo-god force surging out. Crack! The barrier shattered on the spot.
Oh no!
Willow Tree's expression changed. Mu Xingxing didn't want to kill Qin Feiyang, he just wanted to draw them away and save Mu Tianyong. Mu Xingxing shouted, "Lord Monarch, follow me." Finished speaking. Mu Xingxing immediately turned around, turned into a stream of light, and flew towards a mountain range next to Peach Blossom City. Mu Tianyong hastily chased after him. He didn't even turn his head as he roared, "Qin Feiyang, I admit defeat today. However, there's still a long way to go in the future. Sooner or later, I'll make you pay back double." "Chase!" Yu Huang shouted. "Don't chase." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Yu Huang stopped in the void and looked down at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "With their speed, you may not be able to catch up. Moreover, even if you can catch up, I'm afraid you can't keep them." "Don't waste time," Qin Feiyang said. Yu Huang raised his eyebrows, his body quickly shrank, and landed in front of Qin Feiyang, asking, "Don't you think it's a pity to miss such a good opportunity?" "Pity?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback, shook his head and said, "I don't think it's a pity, on the contrary, I'm quite happy." "Happy? Is there something wrong with your head?" Yu Huang said. Willow Tree also looked at him strangely. "Yes, very happy. Because in this way, I have a chance to end his life with my own hands," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The man and the beast were stunned. Just because of this reason? It really made them speechless. "Descendant of Emperor Qin, Qin Feiyang, nice to meet you." At this time, Wang Yuanshan came up and said with a smile, "Hello, Senior." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and saluted. Wang Yuanshan laughed and looked at Qin Feiyang, his old eyes full of joy. Yu Huang glanced at Wang Yuanshan, looked at Qin Feiyang and Willow Tree, and said suspiciously, "What is this old man so happy about?" Qin Feiyang was also full of doubts. "You don't know? All of you are really blockheads." Willow Tree secretly despised Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang, and said with a voice transmission, "Wang Yuanshan is so happy, it must be because of Wang Yu-er." "What does this have to do with Wang Yu-er?" Yu Huang was even more puzzled. "Of course it has something to do with it. Young Master is the person Wang Yu likes, so in Wang Yuanshan's opinion, Qin Feiyang is the son-in-law of his Wang family." Willow Tree said. "Son-in-law?" Yu Huang's lips twitched. Things weren't set in stone yet. Besides, Qin Feiyang didn't have such thoughts about Wang Yu at all. Qin Feiyang was also a little helpless, and said with a voice transmission, "Willow Tree, retreat first." "Retreat?" Willow Tree was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said secretly, "Go back to Peach Blossom City first, I will contact you if there is anything." "All right." Willow Tree nodded. Then, the two took out image crystals and established a contract bridge. Willow Tree opened a teleportation door and walked in without looking back. Wang Yuanshan asked, "Feiyang, where is he going?" He called Qin Feiyang so intimately, as if he treated him as family. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "I asked him to deal with a private matter." Since it was a private matter, he definitely couldn't get to the bottom of it. Wang Yuanshan said with a smile, "Follow this old man into the city." "Enter the city?" Qin Feiyang looked at Peach Blossom City with a hesitant expression. Wang Yuanshan asked, "Are you worried about the people of the Heavenly Sun Empire?" Without waiting for Qin Feiyang to answer, Wang Yuanshan said with a smile, "There's no need to worry. With my main tower helping you, even if they come looking for you, they won't dare to do anything to you." How passionate! Looks like Wang Yu-er won't be able to run away as a daughter-in-law. Yu Huang laughed secretly. "Shut your mouth." Qin Feiyang glared at Yu Huang. Then he looked at Wang Yuanshan and said with a smile, "Deference is no substitute for obedience. Senior, please." Good, good, good. Wang Yuanshan laughed loudly and led Wang Yu back to Peach Blossom City.
I hope it won't be too troublesome.
Qin Feiyong muttered and chased after the two.
Not necessarily.
Look at how much Wang Yuanshan likes Wang Yuer.
For the sake of Wang Yuer's lifelong happiness, he might force you to marry her.
Yu Huang smiled evilly. Qin Feiyong said helplessly, "Can't you talk less?" This monarch said that to let you be mentally prepared in advance. To think that you find this monarch long-winded. You really don't know how to appreciate good intentions.
If you are really unwilling, just say the word, and this monarch will immediately bring you away.
Yu Huang sent a voice transmission in dissatisfaction.
Forget it. Do you think I don't know that you can't wait to see me in trouble, especially this kind of big trouble?
Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes.
Hehe. We haven't been together for long, yet you know this monarch so well.
You can't be a roundworm in this monarch's stomach, right? Yu Huang laughed sinisterly. Qin Feiyong rubbed his forehead. Why did he meet another unreliable guy? During the conversation, Qin Feiyong followed behind Wang Yuanshan and entered Peach Blossom City. The city walls and both sides of the streets were filled with people, curiously sizing up Qin Feiyong. The descendant of the Qin Emperor. The second human in the world to possess the purple gold dragon blood.
Amazing.
This time, the Black Tortoise world will probably be lively. That's right. The Qin Emperor destroyed the Heavenly Sun Empire. The people of the Heavenly Sun Empire hate the people of the Great Qin to the bone. Now that the descendant of the Qin Emperor has entered the Black Tortoise world, the people of the Heavenly Sun Empire will definitely think of ways to get rid of him. Everyone discussed in low voices. Wang Yuanshan raised his eyebrows and said loudly, "Everyone disperse, there's nothing to see." Everyone here was a little afraid of Wang Yuanshan. Therefore, when they heard Wang Yuanshan speak, everyone left in groups of 2s and 3s. However, they kept discussing. Moreover, Chapter 1560.
Elder Lu.
Suddenly, the crowd was in an uproar. Willow Tree slowly walked out of the crowd. At this moment, he had regained his true appearance. He stood tall and had a gentle smile on his face, giving off an inexplicable sense of intimacy. However, no one knew that he was the one who killed Mu He with Yu Huang. "Elder, where did you go? Did you know? Mu He of the Heavenly Sun Empire was killed by Qin Feiyong. This Qin Feiyong is the descendant of the Qin Emperor." A group of people from the Nether Hall immediately ran to Willow Tree and whispered. "The descendant of the Qin Emperor?" Willow Tree pretended to be surprised and walked to Qin Feiyong. He cupped his hands and smiled. "I'm Willow Tree from the Nether Hall. Greetings, little brother Qin." "This human pet is good at acting," Yu Huang mumbled. Qin Feiyong smiled and returned the greeting to Willow Tree.
Willow Tree pretended not to know and asked, "Little brother, I heard that you're the descendant of the Qin Emperor?"
Qin Feiyong nodded. "I didn't expect the descendant of the Qin Emperor to appear here.
Nice to meet you. Little brother, would you give me the honor of coming to the Nether Hall?"
Willow Tree smiled. Wang Yuanshan raised his eyebrows and said, "Willow Tree, what do you mean? Do you think I don't exist?" Willow Tree laughed and said, "Everyone in the Black Tortoise world knows about Elder Wang's hot temper. How would I dare to ignore your existence?" "Stop being sarcastic."
Wang Yuanshan snorted coldly.
"I wouldn't dare. After all, you have the support of the Vanga League.
My Nether Hall can't afford to offend you,"
Willow Tree said with a smile, but anyone who wasn't an idiot could tell that he was mocking Wang Yuanshan. How could Wang Yuanshan not understand? His eyes flickered with cold light. Qin Feiyong glanced at the two of them. The smell of gunpowder was too strong. "Haha." Willow Tree suddenly laughed out loud. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Little brother, the future is long. Let's meet again if there's a chance." After saying that, then, he led the Nether Pavilion's people away. Of course, he didn't really want to invite Qin Feiyong. It was just for show. After Willow Tree left, Wang Yuanshan finally withdrew his gaze. Looking at Qin Feiyong and Wang Yuer, he regained his amiable look and said with a smile, "Let's go." Wang Yuer followed him obediently. Yu Huang glanced at Wang Yuanshan's back view and secretly sighed. "Looks like there are quite a few disputes here too." Qin Feiyang nodded. Putting everything else aside, just the main tower and the nether pavilion had an irreconcilable enmity between them. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he secretly muttered a few words to Yu Huang. Yu Huang's eyes lit up, and he immediately merged into the night sky and disappeared without a trace. In a magnificent hall, Wang Yuanshan sat on the main seat, and Wang Yuer sat beside him. As for Qin Feiyang, he sat opposite Wang Yuanshan. Two young women dressed as maids walked in with a teapot and brewed tea for the three of them one by one. Then, they silently retreated to the side. However, whether it was the two maids or the guards outside, they would occasionally glance at Qin Feiyang, their eyes filled with curiosity. Wang Yuanshan picked up the teacup and took a sip. He looked at Qin Feiyang very seriously and said, "Feiyang, in the future, you'd better stay away from that willow tree." Qin Feiyang was drinking tea. When he heard this, he was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "Senior, why do you say that?" "This willow tree is an elder of the Nether Pavilion, and the Nether Pavilion is even older than our main tower. Its strength is extremely terrifying. As for this willow tree, although he seems polite, he's actually a sanctimonious villain," Wang Yuanshan said. Wang Yuer smiled and said, "Grandfather, you're thinking too much. In fact, we already know what kind of person Willow Tree is because it was Willow Tree who brought us here. The person who killed Mu He with Yu Huang was also Willow Tree in disguise." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He never expected that Wang Yuer would actually tell Wang Yuanshan about this matter. It happened too suddenly, and he couldn't stop it in time. "What? Willow Tree brought you here?" Wang Yuanshan was surprised. This, Qin Feiyang glanced at Wang Yuer and nodded at Wang Yuanshan. "That's right." Since he had already exposed it, there was nothing to hide. "How do you know Willow Tree? Why did he help you kill Mu He?" Wang Yuanshan was suspicious. "This is a long story. Didn't Miss Yuer want to say it? You can ask her when you have time." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Wang Yuanshan looked at Wang Yuer. When Wang Yuer heard Qin Feiyang's words, her delicate body stiffened slightly. This was because she realized that whether it was Qin Feiyang's expression or the way he spoke earlier, they were somewhat different from before. There seemed to be a trace of coldness. "Senior Wang, Miss Yuer knows what you want to know. You can ask her if you have any questions. I still have something to deal with, so I won't disturb you. When I have time in the future, I'll come and visit again." Qin Feiyang suddenly stood up and smiled. This, Wang Yuanshan was stunned. He had not even warmed his seat. Why was he leaving already? A trace of panic appeared on Wang Yuer's face. "Goodbye." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands at Wang Yuanshan and smiled at Wang Yuer. Then, he turned and walked out of the hall without looking back. Wang Yuanshan was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Seeing this, Wang Yuer hurriedly got up and chased after him. She pulled Qin Feiyang's arm and asked, "Where are you going?" "I don't know." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "If you don't know, why are you leaving? Is it because I told you about Willow Tree?" Wang Yuer said anxiously. Qin Feiyang said, "Since you know it in your heart, why did you still say it?" "Indeed, this is the case." Wang Yuer muttered. "Do you know why I changed Willow Tree's appearance? I don't want others to know that he has already followed me." "But you didn't even ask me and directly told your grandfather." "Do you know what the people of the Nether Hall will do to Willow Tree if the fact that he has followed me is exposed?" "They will definitely kill him," Qin Feiyang said, trying his best to control his emotions so that his tone did not sound so aggressive. Wang Yuer said, "What's wrong with telling my grandfather? If your grandfather is not from the main tower, it won't be a problem. But the problem is that your grandfather is from the main tower, and his status is not low. The main tower and the Nether Hall have always been at odds. Can you be sure that he won't use this matter to make a big fuss?" Qin Feiyang said. Wang Yuer's face turned slightly pale. "I can understand. You didn't hide anything because you trust your grandfather. But you have to understand me. One must always be on guard against others. I, Qin Feiyang, have never trusted anyone easily, let alone someone I just met. Stay here and have a good chat with your grandfather. When I leave, I will come and pick you up. If you don't want to leave, It's best to send me a message in advance and let me know. After Qin Feiyong finished speaking, he opened a teleportation door and walked in. Am I more important, or is Willow Tree more important? Are you going to abandon me for Willow Tree? Wang Yuer said angrily. I can't answer this question. Qin Feiyong's footsteps paused slightly, then he said without looking back and quickly disappeared. Wang Yuer was burning with anxiety and was about to chase after him. But at this moment, Wang Yuanshan walked out and looked at the teleportation door. He said in surprise, Your little boyfriend really left? Wang Yuer glanced at Wang Yuanshan and then at the disappearing teleportation door. She turned around and ran into the hall, lying on the table and crying bitterly. Yuer, what's wrong? Did he bully you? Tell grandfather. Grandfather will go and settle the score with him. Wang Yuanshan hurried in and said anxiously. Wang Yuer said, It's none of your business. Let me be alone for a while. Wang Yuanshan's face stiffened. He turned to look at the disappearing teleportation door and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Although he didn't know what was going on, he vaguely heard Wang Yuer mention Willow Tree when he was inside. It seemed that Yuer had told him about the Willow Tree, which made Qin Feiyong angry. How dare you bully my descendant? Even if you are the descendant of Emperor Qin, I won't let you go. He muttered to himself, walked out of the hall and shouted, Men! Whoosh! A middle-aged man cut through the night sky and landed in front of Wang Yuanshan like lightning. He bowed and said, Greetings, sir. This man was about 1.9 meters tall and had a finger-long scar on the corner of his mouth. He looked a little scary. Wang Yuanshan whispered a few words in the middle-aged man's ear. Yes, sir. After listening, the middle-aged man responded respectfully. He turned around and soared into the sky, disappearing into the night sky. Late at night, at the stronghold of the Tianyang Empire, a blood-haired young man appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyong. The stronghold of the Tianyang Empire had been reduced to ruins. There was no one around. It was dead silent. Qin Feiyong walked into the ruins alone and looked around as if he was waiting for something. Whoosh! Soon, a ray of light shot out from the ground somewhere in the ruins. Who else could it be but Yu Huang? However, when it saw Qin Feiyong, it was slightly stunned. It flew to Qin Feiyong and asked suspiciously, Didn't you go to the stronghold of the main tower with Wang Yuer? Why are you here? Where is Wang Yuer? Qin Feiyong smiled and said, I'm worried about you. That's why I came to take a look. Yu Huang rolled his eyes and said, Stop talking nonsense. Did something happen? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and said, Wang Yuer told Wang Yuanshan that Willow Tree is following us. To be honest, I'm a little angry that she acted on her own accord. What? Is she stupid? Doesn't she know about the conflict between the main tower and the Nether Hall? She actually told Wang Yuanshan. Isn't this pushing Willow Tree into a fire pit? You have to tell Willow Tree about this as soon as possible and let him be prepared. Otherwise, he will be in danger when this matter is leaked. Yu Huang raised his eyebrows and said, I think so too. Qin Feiyong nodded and sighed. Of course, I hope that Wang Yuanshan is not that kind of person. Come on. We've only met once. Do you know what kind of person he is? It's hard to know what's in a person's heart. It's better to be safe. Besides, it wasn't easy to subdue such a pet. I don't want him to die young. Chapter 1561. Don't always call me a pet. We've already fought side by side for so long. No matter how deep the grudge is, it's time to end it and leave some face for others. Qin Feiyong said. You're really magnanimous. But I'm sorry. This emperor is a very vengeful person. Yu Huang coldly snorted. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly and asked, Any gains? No. Yu Huang shook his head and said, The treasures here were probably moved away by Mu He in advance. Moved? Don't tease me. Before we killed Mu He didn't receive any news at all. How could he have moved the treasures here in advance? Hurry up and take it out. We'll enjoy it together and endure it together. Qin Feiyong said. Not doing it. This emperor has contributed the most to killing Mu He this time. All the treasures here should belong to this emperor. Yu Huang said. Qin Feiyong laughed.
So there are indeed treasures here?
Holy shit. You're actually trying to trick this emperor.
Brat, you're not honest.
Yu Huang said angrily. Only then did he react.
Qin Feiyong laughed and said, "You can take all of it.
Just treat it as your reward." What do you mean?
Reward.
This is what this emperor obtained with his own ability. How can it be called a reward?
Let me tell you, if you want to say it like that, this emperor doesn't want it.
You want to give me a reward?
All right, this emperor doesn't want anything else.
I only want the potential pill. Do as you see fit.
Yu Huang took out 5 Cosmos bags from the Qi Sea and threw them to Qin Feiyong like trash, and said, "These are all the treasures here, keep them well."
Qin Feiyong grabbed the Cosmos bag and lowered his head to check. If he didn't look, he wouldn't know. These 5 Cosmos bags were actually all medicinal herbs. Moreover, they were basically all 10,000 years old. So many, where did you find them? Qin Feiyong asked in shock.
Below. Yu Huang pointed to the ground and said, "There is a treasure trove below, it is very hidden, this emperor found it with great difficulty."
Not bad, not bad.
Qin Feiyong laughed, his face full of pride.
And
Yu Huang suspiciously looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Brat, why do I feel like I've been schemed by you again?"
No.
Qin Feiyong hurriedly waved his hand, revealing an innocent expression.
Wrong.
This emperor. The rewards buy.
Yu Huang cursed.
Qin Feiyong laughed. "Don't worry, before I leave, I will give you the potential pill." Yu Huang's eyes lit up and he threatened, "You better keep your word, otherwise, don't blame this emperor for being impolite to you."
Don't worry, don't worry. Qin Feiyong waved his hand.
Yu Huang said, "Wait, I heard from Fatso that you seem to have an ancient book called the Pill Scripture?"
That's right. Qin Feiyong nodded.
Yu Huang asked, "Then is there a pill formula for the spirit congealing pill?"
Yes. Qin Feiyong said. That's good.
Hurry up and refine some spirit congealing pills for this emperor. As long as there are enough spirit congealing pills, coupled with your ancient castle, the time is different from the outside. This emperor is confident that I can step into the war god realm within 1,000 years. Yu Huang said excitedly.
And
Qin Feiyong was stunned and asked, "To step into the war god realm, don't you need to comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god?"
No, no, no.
This profound meaning was comprehended before breaking through to the false god realm. In other words, when breaking through to the false god realm, you have already thoroughly comprehended the profound meaning of becoming a god. Next, you just need to condense your divine soul. However, condensing the divine soul is not only very difficult, but also a very long process. Without a great fortune or a heaven-defying pill, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years are common.
Yu Huang said. So difficult?
Qin Feiyong was shocked.
That's right.
There are many creatures in the world that are trapped in the false god realm because they can't condense their divine soul. But if there are a lot of spirit congealing pills, it's different. Spirit congealing pills can help creatures quickly condense their divine soul. Once the divine soul appears, they can naturally step into the war god realm.
Yu Huang said. I see.
Qin Feiyong nodded in understanding. After that, he stared at Yu Huang with a strange look on his face.
Why are you looking at me like that? Yu Huang was suspicious.
Qin Feiyong said, "You just said that it will take 1,000 years to condense a divine soul after refining a lot of spirit congealing pills?"
Yes.
Yu Huang nodded. Qin Feiyong's face twitched and he said speechlessly, 1,000 years is so long.
Why are you so excited?
Damn. 1,000 years is long? Then what about some people who can't condense a divine soul after tens of thousands of years? Kid, don't be arrogant. Condensing a divine soul is not as easy as you think. If it's really that easy, wouldn't there be as many war gods in the world today? Let me tell you, creatures who can condense a divine soul within 1,000 years are rare geniuses that only appear once in a million years.
Yu Huang snorted.
Qin Feiyong said, "From what you said, you are one of these geniuses?"
Do you really want to go against me?
What I mean is, according to the time in your castle, I can step into the war god realm within 1,000 years. Then if it's the time outside, it will definitely take longer.
Yu Huang said angrily.
Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed.
I won't tease you anymore. It's definitely not a problem to refine the spirit congealing pills, but you have to have medicinal herbs. Yu Huang pointed to the 5 Chenkuan bags and said, I don't believe that I can't get one set with so many medicinal herbs. I have to count them out to know. I have a lot of spiritual infant fruits, but the other medicinal herbs. To be honest, I haven't cared about these things since Dan Wangkai followed me. So I don't know a lot of medicinal herbs. How about this? I'll give these Chenkuan bags to Dan Wangkai first and let him sort them out. Let's see how many sets he can gather. Qin Feiyang said.
Yu Huang said, It's all a small matter.
I can go to the castle to help tidy it up. Is there a need to be so anxious?
Qin Feiyang was helpless. Nonsense. How can this matter not be urgent? Yu Huang rolled his eyes at him.
Wait. Even if you can refine the spirit congealing pills, you can't break through to the war god realm in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang said. Why can't I? Yu Huang was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, Didn't the willow tree say that the Black Tortoise world also has rules and restrictions that can only break through to the false god realm? Then it's fine if we're not in the Black Tortoise world. Anyway, we'll leave the Black Tortoise world sooner or later. Yu Huang said. Qin Feiyang said in surprise, Can you break through to the war god realm outside? For outsiders like you, it's definitely not possible.
But we can.
However, I've also heard that after beasts like us break through to the war god realm, we'll be taken away by the guardians of the divine ruins.
Yu Huang said.
Then that's it. When you break through to the war god realm and the guardians of the divine ruins come to take you away, do you dare to resist? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Why wouldn't I dare to resist?
If you dare to beat it up, I dare to do the same.
Yu Huang coldly snorted. Qin Feiyang said, You say it as if it's true. When that giant python arrives, you'll be as obedient as a little lamb. Are you looking down on me? Yu Huang's embarrassment turned into anger.
It was indeed afraid of the guardians of the divine ruins, but don't say it so directly.
I'm not looking down on you, it's the truth. Not to mention you, even I have to take a detour when I see it. Qin Feiyang sighed. In the past, with the Qi and Blood Pearl, he could still fight, but now that the Qi and Blood Pearl was shattered, he was no longer able to shake the giant python's power. Yu Huang raised his eyebrows and said, You're refusing again and again. Do you not want to give me the spirit congealing pill?
Qin Feiyang said, Do you want to hear the truth?
Nonsense.
Yu Huang angrily waited for him.
The herbs for the spirit congealing pill are very difficult to find. Especially the spiritual infant fruit. I'm lucky to find so many. If I'm unlucky, I'm afraid I won't be able to find even one in my life. And you also know that Fatso and the White-Eyed Wolf are all loyal to me, so I must consider them first. As the saying goes, there are too many monks and too little gruel. I hope you can understand my difficulties. Qin Feiyang sighed. Hypocrite. Don't you just want me to follow you and work for you? Yu Huang rolled his eyes at him. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. He was actually seen through, and it was a little awkward. Yu Huang lowered his head, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, it seemed to have made a decision as it looked at Qin Feiyang and said, How about this? Let me refine the spiritual infant fruit first, and I'll take you to the capital of the Tianyang Empire to loot their treasury. Loot their treasury. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. This guy is too crazy. The people of the Tianyang Empire have been living in the Black Tortoise world for so many years. Coupled with the restrictions of the rules, they can't break through to the war god realm. Therefore, the herbs for the spirit congealing pill are meaningless to them. I'm afraid it's not even as good as a battle chi pill.
So I believe that there must be a lot of them in their treasury.
Yu Huang said. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. He actually didn't think of this? The Black Tortoise world had restrictions. Not only the people of the Tianyang Empire, but even the people of the Main Tower, the Nether Hall, the Vanga League, and the Fengtian Palace couldn't break through to the War God realm. If they couldn't break through to the War God realm, then as Yu Huang said, the spirit congealing pill was worthless. It wasn't just the Tianyang Empire. The other forces must have a lot of herbs for the spirit congealing pill. Wasn't this a good opportunity? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He stared at Yu Huang. The strength of the Heavenly Sun Empire is so strong. Are you confident?
Yu Huang said, "Don't worry, if I can't find enough herbs for you, I'll—" "What?"
Qin Feiyong looked at it expectantly.
Yu Huang clenched its teeth and said, "I'll give myself to you."
Qin Feiyong burst out laughing.
A ferocious beast actually dared to say that it wanted to repay him with its body?
Why did it sound so weird? Fortunately, there was no one around. Otherwise, if they heard Yu Huang's words, they would definitely look at him strangely. Chapter 1562. Of course.
Yu Huang's words were not what Qin Feiyong had imagined. What he meant was that if he could not find enough herbs, he would follow him in the future.
This was a good thing for Qin Feiyong.
At the very least, it meant that Yu Huang had a good impression of him now. He did not stay any longer. After sending Yu Huang and a few universe bags to the ancient castle, Qin Feiyong changed his appearance slightly and asked someone to find out where the Nether Hall's stronghold was.
Then, he went to look for Willow Tree. In a certain ancient hall, Willow Tree sat upright on a chair.
A man and a woman stood respectfully below him.
Both of them looked middle-aged and had shrewd eyes.
They were the people in charge of the Nether Hall here.
Elder, Peach Blossom City has always had rules.
No one can destroy the buildings in the city.
However, this Qin Feiyong not only killed people in Peach Blossom City but also destroyed a large number of buildings. Why didn't you even say a word of blame?
The two of them frowned.
Willow Tree pursed his lips. Right now, his life was still in Qin Feiyong's hands. How dare he be impudent? After pondering for a while,
Willow Tree said something very cruel. "Rules have always been for the weak." When the two of them heard that, they immediately fell silent.
That's right. Only the weak would follow the rules.
As for the strong,
who would care so much?
The rules were useless in front of them.
If they were unhappy, they would break them. What could they do?
They could only watch helplessly. At this moment, a guard ran into the hall and said respectfully, "Greetings, Elder." "What's the matter?"
Willow Tree asked.
The guard said, "There's someone outside who claims to be your old friend and wants to see you."
Ridiculous.
How can there be an old friend of Elder Willow Tree in Peach Blossom City?
He must be here to curry favor. Just chase him away.
The two people in charge shouted. "This?" The guard hesitated as he looked at Willow Tree. "Old friend." Lu Mu pondered and didn't say anything.
Hurry up and go. We've seen a lot of people like this who try to curry favor with others.
The man and woman sneered.
Yes.
Hearing the two of them speak again, the guard respectfully responded and turned to leave.
At this moment, Willow Tree seemed to have thought of something.
He suddenly looked at the guard and said, "Let him in."
The man and woman looked at the Willow Tree in surprise. Was he really Elder Lu's friend?
Yes. The guard was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly ran out.
A short while later,
the guard led a middle-aged man into the main hall.
How unfamiliar. Who?
The man and woman sized up the middle-aged man, their eyes full of suspicion.
Willow Tree was also sizing up the burly man.
Suddenly, he waved his hand and said, "All of you back down."
Yes.
The man and woman and the guard bowed respectfully, then turned and left the hall.
Willow Tree said, "Close the door while you're at it." The guard turned around and closed the door. At this moment,
Willow Tree got up, looked at the middle-aged man and asked, "You are?"
The middle-aged man took out a face-restoring pill and threw it into his mouth. Soon, he turned into a young man in white. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyong?
"It's really you."
Willow Tree smiled bitterly and asked, "Didn't you go to the main tower's stronghold? Why are you here so soon?" "It's a long story. I came to find you because there's an emergency," Qin Feiyong said with a sullen face. "What emergency?" Seeing Qin Feiyong's serious face, Willow Tree also became nervous.
Qin Feiyong said, "Wang Yuer told Wang Yuanshan that you're following me."
"What?"
Willow Tree's eyes trembled and he said angrily, "What is she doing?
Is she trying to kill me?"
"She didn't mean that. After all, Wang Yuanshan is her grandfather.
In her opinion, it's fine to tell Wang Yuanshan," Qin Feiyong said. "What do you mean it's fine?
Do you really know Wang Yuanshan? He's also a ruthless person, and he's always had a problem with the Nether Hall. Also, He's very protective. When you came out just now, did you have a falling out with Wang Yu?
Willow Tree asked. What do you mean?
I just said a few words to her.
Qin Feiyong said.
Willow Tree said, where was Wang Yuanshan at that time?
In the main hall inside.
Wang Yu and I were outside the door.
At that time, I spoke quite softly.
But, at this point, Qin Feiyong frowned. But what?
Willow Tree asked.
Qin Feiyong said, but in the end, Wang Yu shouted a few words.
Wang Yuanshan should have heard it. That's not good.
That damned old man is famous in the Black Tortoise world for being protective. He'll definitely cause trouble for you because of Wang Yu. When you went to the main tower's stronghold, I should have warned you.
Willow Tree looked a little annoyed.
Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said with a faint smile, it's okay. I'm not even afraid of the fire dragon and the giant python, let alone Wang Yuanshan. If he really dares to cause trouble for me, I'll make him pay the price. You're a typical example of a newborn calf not being afraid of a tiger.
Willow Tree shook his head. Boom. Before he finished speaking, suddenly,
a terrifying aura descended above the main hall.
Willow Tree was shocked and hurriedly turned to look at Qin Feiyong.
He said in a low voice, quickly hide. This is the aura of the Nether Hall's Grand Elder.
Grand Elder?
Why is he here?
Could it be that Wang Yuanshan has already leaked the news? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Willow Tree's heart sank.
He said, if that's the case, then the situation is not good. You go to the castle first. I'll act according to the situation.
Okay.
I'll support you in the dark at any time. After Qin Feiyong finished speaking, he instantly disappeared without a trace. Bang!
In the next moment,
the door of the main hall was kicked open. An old man with white hair slowly walked into the main hall with a crimson gold walking stick. His figure was hunched and his face was old. It seemed like he already had one foot in the coffin, but his aura was extremely strong. That cold and indifferent expression gave people a sense of oppression without being angry. Willow Tree hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Greetings, Grand Elder.
At this moment,
the two people in charge ran in and knelt on one knee. They said respectfully, greetings, Grand Elder. The Grand Elder nodded and scanned the main hall. He looked at Willow Tree and asked, is there no one else here?
Willow Tree's heart skipped a beat.
He said, an old friend came to visit earlier, but he already left. With the two people in charge here, there was no way to hide it. Therefore, he might as well admit it. The Grand Elder said meaningfully, I didn't expect you to have an old friend in Peach Blossom City.
Willow Tree smiled embarrassedly.
The Grand Elder said, come back to the main tower with this old man.
The Tower Master wants to see you.
Willow Tree asked in surprise. What important matter is it that requires you to come and pick me up personally?
The Grand Elder said, it's very important. It concerns the future of my Nether Hall.
Willow Tree's eyes immediately flickered. If there really was something, the Tower Master could just send him a message. There was no need for the Grand Elder to come personally.
It was obvious.
The Tower Master was afraid that he would slip away. It seemed that Wang Yuanshan had really leaked the news. The Grand Elder said impatiently, what are you waiting for?
Let's go.
Willow Tree ignored the Grand Elder and said, if the Tower Master wants to see me, why didn't he send me a message?
Why did he send you here?
Why are you asking so much? Could it be that you have a guilty conscience? The Grand Elder asked with a hoarse laugh. Willow Tree frowned and said, Grand Elder, let's not beat around the bush.
Just be straightforward. Why are you here?
The Grand Elder said, you should know very well why this old man is here.
I don't understand.
Willow Tree shook his head. Seeing the two's expressions and their conversation, the two people in charge exchanged glances.
What is going on? Why does it feel like the atmosphere is off?
You don't understand? All right, this old man will explain it to you then. Not long ago, the Tower Master received a secret report saying that you betrayed my Nether Hall and sought refuge with the great Qin Emperor's descendant, Qin Feiyong. Hence, the Tower Master ordered this old man to bring you back for questioning. If you don't have a guilty conscience, then obediently return with this old man. But if you resist, then it proves that such a thing is true, said the Grand Elder, and his eyes flickered with cold light.
Damn it! Willow Tree was extremely furious.
Grand Elder, what's going on?
How could Elder Willow Tree betray our nether hall? There's definitely something wrong here. Perhaps someone is intentionally slandering Elder Willow Tree and trying to make us fight amongst ourselves, said the two people in charge.
The Grand Elder glanced at them and said indifferently, "Do you have the right to speak here?
Shut up for this old man."
Even though his voice was flat, it carried an extraordinary pressure.
Their figures trembled, and they immediately shut their mouths and stood obediently at the side. The Grand Elder looked at Willow Tree and said, "Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that someone is slandering you. So, you have to cooperate with our investigation." "What if I don't cooperate?" said Willow Tree. "Don't cooperate?"
As an Elder of the Nether Hall, you should be clearly aware of the consequences of betraying the Nether Hall,
said the Grand Elder. Sigh. Willow Tree sighed deeply. It seemed that there was no other way out. Boom. Suddenly, the Grand Elder released his divine consciousness and instantly enveloped the entire hall. Willow Tree knew that things were not good. As expected. In the next moment, the Grand Elder caught sight of the ancient castle, and killing intent surged in his eyes. He looked at Willow Tree and said sternly, "Who's hiding in the dark? Qin Fei Yang? Where's Qin Fei Yang?"
The two people in charge were bewildered.
Swoosh.
At the same time, an invisible force appeared out of thin air and swept up Willow Tree before disappearing without a trace.
As expected, it's Qin Fei Yang,
the Grand Elder said word by word, and the power of a false god surged out.
A barrier instantly appeared and enveloped the entire hall. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Fei Yang's face was gloomy. He was about to drive the ancient castle away from this place.
However, he did not expect the Grand Elder to react so quickly and directly seal the surrounding void.
Willow Tree's face was also gloomy.
He said, "The matter has been exposed.
There's no other choice. I'll go out and destroy the barrier. You come and help me." "Okay."
Qin Fei Yang nodded and waved his hand.
Willow Tree immediately appeared in the hall. "Bastard, you actually became a traitor." Chapter 1563. Since things have come to this, I won't explain anything. Let's fight. Break for me.
Willow Tree roared, and the power of the false god poured out like a torrent toward the barrier.
Rumble. Accompanied by a loud bang, the barrier shattered. The terrifying shockwave instantly destroyed the entire hall. Moreover, Willow Tree did not retract the power of the false god. The power of the false god continued to rush forward. Huge buildings collapsed one after another. Willow Tree shouted, "Qin Fei Yang, quick!" Inside the ancient castle, Qin Fei Yang waved his hand and brought Willow Tree into the ancient castle. Willow Tree said in a deep voice, "The power of the false god that I left behind is enough to destroy the entire Peach Blossom City. The First Elder will not let this happen and will definitely stop it. Let's take the opportunity to escape." Qin Fei Yang nodded and immediately fled out of the city on his spatial divine item. As Willow Tree expected, the First Elder did not chase after them. Instead, he went to stop the false god's power. Boom. However, four figures suddenly rushed out from the city below. These four people all looked very old, but their auras were extremely strong. As soon as the four of them appeared, the power of the false god surged out and condensed into a huge barrier, trapping the ancient castle inside. What? Willow Tree's expression changed drastically. "Who are they?" Qin Fei Yang asked. Willow Tree said word by word, "They are the Second Elder, Third Elder, Fourth Elder, and Fifth Elder of the Nether Hall." Damn. Including the First Elder, there are 5 elders. In order to prevent you from escaping, they really put in a lot of effort. Yu Huang heard the commotion and stopped sorting the herbs. He ran to Qin Fei Yang and Willow Tree's side and exclaimed as he looked at the people on the screen. Willow Tree smiled bitterly. He did not feel honored at all. He only felt that he was unlucky. How could he escape when the 5 elders had arrived? Useless. Aren't they just 5 old men? What are you afraid of? Let me out. I'll use my divine weapon to beat them to a pulp. Yu Huang said proudly. Naive. Not long ago we killed Mu He. Everyone in Peach Blossom City saw it.
The Great Elder and the others must have already received the news.
If I'm not mistaken, they must have brought along divine artifacts as well.
Willow Tree sneered. This. Yu Huang immediately lost his temper.
At this moment,
with a loud bang, the Great Elder shattered the pseudo-god force and rushed into the divine power barrier. What should we do?
Willow Tree looked at Qin Feiyang.
With the combined strength of the 5 elders, it was impossible for him and Yu Huang to kill their way out.
Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered.
The Great Elder suddenly shouted, "Traitor, hurry up and come out for this old man."
What's the situation?
It's actually the 5 elders of the Nether Hall.
What are they doing in Peach Blossom City?
Who's the traitor?
Peach Blossom City was not big to begin with.
With such a big commotion, it immediately alarmed everyone. Everyone soared into the sky and looked at the 5 great elders and the divine power barrier, discussing animatedly.
Whoosh! At the main tower's stronghold,
Wang Yuanshan also stood in the air, looking at the divine power barrier with a sneer on his face.
Grandfather, what's going on?
Wang Yuer suddenly rose into the air and looked at Wang Yuanshan.
Of course it's to vent your anger for you. Wang Yuanshan said dotingly. Vent my anger for me?
Wang Yuer was suspicious.
Willow Tree, Qin Feiyang, if you don't come out, don't blame this old man for being impolite.
The Great Elder roared again.
Willow Tree?
Qin Feiyang.
Wang Yuer was stunned.
She looked at Wang Yuanshan in surprise and asked, "Why are they trapped?"
Wait a minute. You said you would help me vent my anger. Could it be that you...
That's right. I sent someone to inform the Nether Hall.
Wang Yuanshan nodded. Grandfather, you're going too far. Did you ask for my opinion before doing this? Do you know that Qin Feiyang has always been amenable to coaxing but not coercion?
You'll only make him hate me more.
Wang Yuer said angrily. She turned to look at the divine power barrier and shook her head.
No, I have to help them. You'll help.
What do you have to help?
With your little strength?
Wang Yuanshan grabbed her and said angrily.
Wang Yuer said, I'm not very strong, but I can't just watch Qin Feiyang fall into a desperate situation.
Silly child.
Grandfather is doing this for your own good.
Just wait and see. Grandfather promises that Qin Feiyang will obediently apologize to you later. Amenable to coaxing but not coercion. This old man doesn't believe that he can be stubborn in the face of the threat of death. Wang Yuanshan said disdainfully. Looking at Wang Yuanshan's face, Wang Yuer's face was filled with disappointment. She muttered, Qin Feiyang is right. I shouldn't have trusted you and told you about the willow tree. How dare you?
Wang Yuanshan was furious and shouted, Men! 2 burly men flew into the air.
Both of them were 9-star combat emperors.
Wang Yuanshan shouted, Take good care of the young miss for this old man. If anything happens to her, this old man will hold you responsible.
Yes. The 2 burly men responded and stood on Wang Yuer's left and right. They said respectfully, Young miss, don't make things difficult for us.
Grandfather.
Wang Yuer glared at Wang Yuanshan, but Wang Yuanshan ignored her. He stared at the divine power barrier, his brows filled with hostility. Obviously, he was still a self-centered person. Wang Yuer contradicted him in public, which made him very unhappy. Inside the divine power barrier, the great elder's face became more and more gloomy. He suddenly waved his hand and shouted, Attack! The 2nd elder, the 3rd elder, the 4th elder, and the 5th elder moved in unison. Waves of pseudo-divine power surged and blasted towards the ancient castle. They could all use their divine sense to lock onto the ancient castle, so the pseudo-divine power could accurately bombard the ancient castle. Rumble! Under the bombardment of the pseudo-divine power, ear-splitting noises constantly rang out in the ancient castle. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were extremely hesitant. If the ancient castle was destroyed, what would they do? However, as time passed, the ancient castle was still intact. The man and the beast couldn't help but be surprised. He was too resistant to being beaten up. Qin Feiyang laughed. In this world, I have never seen anything that can damage the ancient castle. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were stunned. So confident? Yu Huang said angrily. Then why didn't you say so earlier? You made me worry for so long. It's not like you haven't seen the ancient castle's power. What are you afraid of?
When we were outside, facing the fire dragon and the guardian python, the ancient castle could contend with them, let alone a few pseudo-gods.
Qin Feiyong said disdainfully.
I was nervous and forgot.
Yu Huang smiled embarrassedly. Outside, the Great Elder's eyes gradually revealed a trace of disbelief. It seemed that the spatial divine item in Qin Feiyong's hand was not just a simple spatial divine item. Then this old man wants to see if your spatial divine item is harder, or if my divine item is sharper. The Great Elder's eyes suddenly flashed with a sharp light. Accompanied by a loud clang, a ray of light shot out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, a sharp light that could tear heaven and earth rolled out in the divine power barrier. Great Elder, you can't revive the divine item. Yes. Once the two divine items collide, Peach Blossom City will not be able to hold on. Seeing this, the second elder, third elder, fourth elder, and fifth elder hurriedly shouted. The Great Elder said, if we can't hold on, let them withdraw from Peach Blossom City first. The four elders looked at each other with a troubled expression on their faces. Peach Blossom City did not belong to the Nether Palace. They did not have the authority. Moreover, Wang Yuanshan was watching from afar. They had to ask Wang Yuanshan's opinion on whether to withdraw or not. Wang Yuanshan's eyes flashed, and he shouted, the people of the main tower, withdraw from Peach Blossom City immediately. The Great Elder and the other four were stunned and looked at Wang Yuanshan in surprise. So straightforward? Logically speaking, as Wang Yuer's relative, shouldn't he protect Qin Feiyong? Wait, could it be that Wang Yuanshan was the one who leaked the secret? When Wang Yuanshan sent someone to leak the news, he did not reveal his identity, so the people of the Nether Palace still did not know that all of this was done by Wang Yuanshan. However, no matter what the reason was, it was a good thing for them. Because, once the main tower withdrew, the others would naturally withdraw with them. After all, now that the stronghold of the Heavenly Sun Empire had been uprooted, only the Nether Palace and the main tower were left in Peach Blossom City. In the face of a confrontation between fake gods, the others did not want to retreat. In order to survive, they had to retreat.
The Great Elder shouted, the people of the Nether Palace, withdraw from Peach Blossom City immediately. The people of the two forces immediately packed up their things and retreated out of the city. When the others in the city saw this, they could only quickly pack up their valuables and leave the city with them. In less than 100 breaths, the huge Peach Blossom City became an empty city. Wang Yuer was also brought to the sky above a huge mountain in the distance by the two burly men. At this point, the only people left in Peach Blossom City were the 5 elders of the Nether Palace and Wang Yuanshan. In the ancient castle. Seeing this scene, Yu Huang ran into Qin Feiyong's arms like a frightened little girl and said in a coquettish voice, Brother Qin, I'm scared. Hearing this, Qin Feiyong's scalp exploded. He grabbed Yu Huang and threw him aside. He said angrily, Can you not disgust me? I'm not disgust you. I'm scared to begin with. Look, they've already vacated the place. They must be planning to fight with us. Do you think we'll die? Yu Huang said, feeling wronged. Qin Feiyong rubbed his forehead. He really began to wonder if Yu Huang was interested in him. He couldn't think about it anymore. Because when he thought about it, he couldn't help but feel a chill. What a weirdo. Willow Tree shook his head speechlessly. However, as he slowly got along with them, he realized that these people and beasts were quite cute. When everyone was together, there was no sense of restraint. They were free. They could say whatever they wanted. They could do whatever they wanted. This kind of life was not bad. However, he could only silently envy this kind of life. Because he knew that Qin Feiyong couldn't stay in the Black Tortoise world forever. He couldn't leave the Black Tortoise world either. This was also the reason why he was so disgusted with Wang Yuer. If this matter hadn't been exposed, when Qin Feiyong left the Black Tortoise world, he could still live as usual. He would still be an elder of the Nether Palace and respected by tens of thousands of people. Nothing would change. As for the things that happened after meeting Qin Feiyong, he would treat it as if they had never happened. But now, he was already a traitor of the Nether Palace. Once Qin Feiyong left, he would be alone.
Chapter 1564. Outside.
A battle sword was suspended in front of the Great Elder.
It was 3 feet long and 2 fingers wide. It was silver white as if it was cast from mercury.
"Revive with this old man!"
The Great Elder roared. All the people in the city evacuated.
The second elder, the third elder, the fourth elder, and the fifth elder did not hesitate. The power of the false god rolled out and poured into the battle sword.
Boom! Clang! The battle sword suddenly shone brightly. The terrifying sharpness could topple mountains and overturn seas. The city below was instantly annihilated. The earth was also trembling and cracking crazily.
From afar it was like the scene of the end of the world. A cold light surged in the Great Elder's eyes as he shouted, "I'll ask you one last time, are you coming out or not?"
"Are you coming out or not?" Willow Tree asked. The artifact had been revived. He really had no confidence in the ancient castle. "Don't be nervous," Qin Feiyong said lightly. "Stubborn."
The Great Elder's eyes were cold.
He grabbed the battle sword and rushed toward the ancient castle. At the same time, his divine sense firmly locked onto the ancient castle. Because he had locked onto the ancient castle, he could accurately hit the ancient castle. Clang! In the blink of an eye, the Great Elder's sword slashed on the ancient castle, and dazzling sparks suddenly appeared in the void. However, the next moment, then, a shocking scene unfolded. When the battle sword collided with the ancient castle, the Great Elder immediately felt a strong rebound force. Clang! The battle sword was immediately bounced away. The Great Elder also took a few steps back. He was shocked. But the next moment,
he seemed to have discovered something and stared at the blade of the battle sword.
His eyes widened, and his face was instantly filled with disbelief. There was a gap on the blade. How could this be? When the second elder and the other 3 saw this scene, they were also in extreme disbelief. Inside the ancient castle, Willow Tree and Yu Huang were also dumbfounded. This ancient castle was going to be awesome. One must know. At this moment, the battle sword was in a state of recovery. The ancient castle had not recovered, but it actually made a gap on the battle sword? Amazing. Willow Tree gave him a thumbs up. Yu Huang smiled sinisterly and said, "Since they can't break through the castle's defenses, then let's just ignore them and continue to hide here." "Drag this out?" Willow Tree was stunned and immediately retorted, "No. Why not?" Yu Huang was suspicious.
Qin Feiyong also said, "That's true."
"What do you mean?" Yu Huang was puzzled. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice, "We can only stay here for half a year." Yeah. Yu Huang was suddenly enlightened. The Black Tortoise world had the power of demons. He had to leave this place within half a year. Otherwise, he would be assimilated by the demonic energy and form a demonic imprint. Once the devil mark appeared, they would never be able to leave the Black Tortoise world for the rest of their lives. In other words, they had no time to waste here. How can a spatial divine item be so terrifying? Not far away, Wang Yuanshan was also dumbfounded. He vaguely realized that he might have made a big mistake.
"Nether Hall, allow me to lend you a hand."
But suddenly, a long roar rolled over. A white-haired youth with a monstrous aura streaked across the sky and rushed in front of the Great Elder like lightning. Mu Xingxing. The 5 Great Elders narrowed their eyes. That's right. This white-haired youth was Mu Xingxing, who had saved Mu Tianyang not long ago. It was obvious that he had returned for Qin Feiyong. "What are you doing here?" The Great Elder frowned. "He killed people of my Tianyang Empire and destroyed our stronghold. If we don't take revenge, the heavens will not tolerate it." Mu Xingxing shouted, his voice like a bell, resounding through the night sky. "It's really over this time." Since Mu Xingxing is so confident, he must have brought a divine artifact with him. Willow Tree's face was filled with despair. Yu Huang's eyelids twitched as he hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "Boss Qin, can this castle block the 2 divine artifacts together?" Qin Feiyong also hesitated. He had never encountered such a situation before, so he wasn't sure either. "I can tell from your expression that it's over." Yu Huang shrank and looked at Willow Tree. "I didn't expect to die with a villain like you. What a shame." Willow Tree was about to get angry. But Yu Huang shook his head and sighed. "Fine, since I'm going to die soon, let's forget about the grudge between us." Willow Tree paused and said angrily, "Can we not talk nonsense now? In any case, we are both false gods. If we fight, we might be able to find a way to survive."
Fight. 2 god artifacts, 6 semi-divinities, and Wang Yuan Shan.
Do you really think that the two of us will stand a chance against them? Yu Huang snorted coldly.
Willow Tree went silent and gritted his teeth. I don't want to die. No matter what, I have to try. Clang.
At this time, Mu Xingxing also took out a 3-foot-long sword, which was glowing with a cold light. Cyan Rainbow Sword.
Willow Tree's eyes darkened. Come on. Let's work together to break that spatial divine artifact.
Mu Xingxing held the Cyan Rainbow Sword and looked at First Elder.
Okay.
First Elder nodded. The 2 swords soared into the sky at the same time. The quasi-divinity energy of the 6 quasi-divinity cultivators gushed into Yang Kai's body. A gust of wind suddenly blew in this world.
The sharpness tore the sky and split the earth. Kill.
Mu Xingxing and First Elder roared at the same time, and the 2 swords slashed the void and directly hit the ancient castle.
Clang. Clang.
The loud sound was deafening. In the void, flames burst out, dazzling like fireworks. However, even the 2 divine artifacts couldn't break the ancient castle. On the contrary, the ancient castle once again bounced the 2 divine artifacts away. A crack appeared on the blade of the Cyan Rainbow Sword. The crack on the Great Elder's sword also became larger. This scene made Mu Xingxing, the 5 elders, and Wang Yuanshan, who was not far away, tremble. They couldn't say a word for a long time. 2 swords. And 2 revived swords couldn't do anything to a spatial divine artifact. What level was the spatial divine artifact in Qin Feiyang's hands? It was too ridiculous.
Awesome.
Willow Tree exclaimed. What's this? When we fought with the Guardians of the Miracle, this ancient castle also used the power of law. Yu Huang said proudly.
However, his eyes were full of shock.
Qin Feiyang, who had been silent all this time, suddenly had a flash of light in his eyes. He said disdainfully, "Do you think this kind of battle array can scare me?"
Naive.
Naive? Willow Tree and Yu Huang were stunned. Later, do as I say, and I promise you will be fine. Maybe you can even kill them and seize the 2 swords in their hands. Qin Feiyang sneered. Really? The man and the beast were surprised. Qin Feiyang nodded. If you really seize the 2 swords, can you give them to us?
After all, we have done a lot for you.
The man and the beast looked at Qin Feiyang expectantly.
Yes.
Qin Feiyang nodded. The man and the beast suddenly became excited and asked, "Tell us, we will listen to you." Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "They have divine artifacts, so do we."
Divine artifacts?
Are you talking about this Emperor's divine weapon?
No, my divine artifacts can't compete with theirs.
Yu Huang hurriedly said. Your divine artifacts certainly can't, but Xueqi can.
Willow Tree.
Qin Feiyang looked at Willow Tree. Here. Willow Tree looked at him. Qin Feiyang took out Xueqi, erased the blood contract inside, and said, "I will give you Xueqi first. Don't let me down." Willow Tree glanced at Xueqi and asked suspiciously, "Can it do?" "Absolutely no problem." Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. "Boy, you are in luck. This Xueqi is the boss's treasure. Many people can't even touch it." Fatso pouted. Willow Tree immediately took Xueqi, dripped blood on it, and then bowed. "Thank you for your trust, young master." Qin Feiyang smiled, waved his hand, and left the castle with Willow Tree and Yu Huang. Finally out. Looking at the 2 people and 1 beast, the First Elder smiled coldly. Mu Xingxing looked at Qin Feiyang proudly, and said, "Before, you relied on the artifact, you were tyrannical and killed my people. Now it is my turn to teach you a lesson. If you know what's good for you, kneel there and let me capture you or what?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Or what?" Mu Xingxing sneered arrogantly. "I will make you wish you were dead." He said in a sonorous voice, "I will make you beg for death." Qin Feiyang just smiled. Qin Feiyang. At this time, Wang Yuanshan's voice sounded. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, turned to look at Wang Yuanshan, and said lightly, "What's the matter?"
Wang Yuanshan said, "You are no match for them, give up." Qin Feiyong sneered. "Isn't this thanks to you?"
Thanks to Wang Yuanshan? What do you mean? Mu Xingxing and the 5 elders were suspicious. At the same time, hearing Qin Feiyong's words, Wang Yuanshan's heart trembled. Had he found out? Qin Feiyong shook his head and said disappointedly, "Wang Yu trusted you, so she told you everything about the willow tree. But what about you? What did you do? Don't tell me you didn't do it." So that's how it is.
The 5 elders of the Nether Hall suddenly understood. They were wondering why Wang Yuanshan didn't help Qin Feiyong.
It turned out that it was Wang Yuanshan who leaked the news.
Humph. So what if it was me?
Wang Yuanshan snorted and said, "How dare you bully my descendant? Even if you are the descendant of the Qin Emperor, I won't let you off easily. You will regret it." Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed red. In the distance, hearing Qin Feiyong's words, Wang Yu's body trembled, and her face turned pale. She knew Qin Feiyong too well. If others didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If he was offended, it would be useless even if the Heavenly Emperor came down. "Grandfather, how long are you going to be wrong? Do you know that you are angering a terrifying killer?" She cried in her heart. But Wang Yuanshan didn't think so. Regret. In Wang Yuanshan's dictionary, there had never been such a word. Cut the crap. I'll give you a chance now. No, this opportunity is given to you out of charity. Wang Yuanshan looked at Qin Feiyong and sneered. Charity? Chapter 1565. Apologize to you, or immediately. Swear in front of everyone that you'll listen to you, or and join the main pagoda. As long as you agree, I'll immediately help you. With me around, the Nether Hall and the Heavenly Sun Empire won't dare to do anything to you. Wang Yuanshan said proudly. Hearing Wang Yuanshan's words, Qin Feiyong didn't take it to heart at all. However, Mu Xingkong and the 5 elders of the Nether Hall were extremely annoyed. Isn't it just because you have the Vanga League behind you? Why are you so arrogant? After leaving the Vanga League, your main pagoda and Wang Yuanshan are nothing. Wang Yuanshan looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "What do you think?" Qin Feiyong smiled but didn't say anything. As long as you're willing to lower your head, you, the willow tree, and the spirit snake can all live. However, if you're stubborn, then I can only collect your corpses. Actually, it's not difficult to lower your head. What's there to hesitate about? Would you rather give up your life to protect your pitiful self-esteem? There's no need. It's good to be alive. If you're dead, it's useless no matter how talented you are or how terrifying your identity is. Wang Yuanshan joked. Interesting. I thought you were just protecting your family, but now I know that you're not protecting them at all. Do you know what it's called? It's called a hypocritical villain. Qin Feiyong chuckled. Wang Yu said, "Feiyong, my grandfather didn't do it on purpose. Please forgive him." Qin Feiyong raised his head and looked at Wang Yu through the layers of void. Wang Yu's face was covered in tears, and she was extremely anxious. Qin Feiyong said, "This is between me and your grandfather, so please don't interfere and don't hate me." Wang Yu's eyes trembled. The meaning of these words was very obvious. Qin Feiyong already wanted to kill her grandfather. Qin Feiyong retracted his gaze and looked at Wang Yuanshan. "You can break your head and bleed, but you can't lose your dignity. Just stand there and watch how I kill them with your eyes wide open." After saying that, he suddenly shouted, "Willow Tree, Yu Huang, do it!" Willow Tree immediately revived Chang Shui. Yu Huang also jumped onto Willow Tree's shoulder and poured his false god power into Chang Shui. With the 2 false gods working together, Chang Shui instantly entered a state of recovery. Kill them. This old man really wants to see how you 3 ants are going to kill them. Wang Yuanshan smiled contemptuously and quickly retreated into the distance. Seeing that Wang Yuanshan had retreated, Mu Xingkong and the 5 elders of the Nether Pavilion immediately took action and revived the 2 swords. For a moment. In this world, the wind howled and the terrifying sharpness covered the sky. Qin Feiyong smiled coldly and entered the ancient castle. He stood in the middle of the ancient castle and looked at the scene in front of him. He's actually hiding again? Mu Xingkong raised his eyebrows.
Don't worry, after we kill the traitor willow tree and the ghost snake, he will naturally come out and beg for mercy in despair. The great elder laughed sinisterly. That's true. The corner of Mu Xingkong's mouth raised. He grabbed the azure rainbow sword and charged towards Willow Tree and Yu Huang. The great elder also controlled the other sword and charged towards the man and beast from the other side. Can this Chong Xue really work? Seeing this, Willow Tree couldn't help but feel guilty and sent a sound transmission to Yu Huang. Won't you know once you try?
Yu Huang laughed secretly. Willow Tree took a deep breath.
In the blink of an eye.
At this moment, Chong Xue no longer looked like an ornamental piece of art.
It shone brightly and was extremely dazzling.
A destructive aura shrouded in all directions.
Go!
Yu Huang shouted.
Willow Tree's eyes flashed fiercely.
He grabbed Chong Xue and rushed towards the azure rainbow sword.
No!
You will directly destroy the azure rainbow sword. Seeing this, Qin Feiyong hurriedly sent a message to Willow Tree. Destroy the azure rainbow sword?
How is this possible?
Willow Tree didn't believe it. No matter what, the azure rainbow sword was still a divine artifact. How could it be destroyed so easily? He raised Chong Xue and faced the azure rainbow sword. With a clang, accompanied by sparks, the azure rainbow sword broke in an instant.
This?
Willow Tree was stunned. He actually destroyed the azure rainbow sword?
How is this possible?
On the opposite side, Mu Xingkong, the 5 elders of the Nether Hall, and Wang Yuanshan were all petrified when they saw this scene. Unbelievable! How could a divine artifact be broken so easily? This must be a joke. How could such a ridiculous thing happen?
What a pity, what a pity!
This is a divine artifact.
If I had known, I would have listened to the young master.
After Willow Tree came back to his senses, he couldn't help but bleed. However, after seeing the power of Chong Xue, Willow Tree's confidence returned and he was in high spirits.
He suddenly turned around and stared at the 5 elders of the Nether Pavilion as he laughed coldly. I've been unable to bear the sight of all of you old bastards since a long time ago.
You rely on your seniority to flaunt your strength before me all the time. I've really spoiled all of you.
The 5 elders' faces were as dark as water.
Although Willow Tree was also an elder of the Nether Hall and was as famous as them, their seniority was indeed higher than Willow Tree's. Therefore, they had always had a premonition when facing Willow Tree. At this moment, seeing Willow Tree insulting them in public, they were naturally unhappy.
What's wrong?
Are you not feeling well? I'm not only going to scold you today, but I'm also going to beat you up.
I'll let you know that I'm not to be trifled with.
Lu Mu roared. He turned around and grabbed Pale Snow. Then he faced the battle sword. The 5 elders' expressions changed. The Grand Elder hurriedly withdrew his battle sword. They didn't want this divine artifact to follow in the footsteps of the rainbow sword.
Trash! You don't even have the courage to face me head-on.
I really don't understand. What right do you have to point fingers at me in the past? Lu Mu smiled proudly and charged towards the Great Elder like a bolt of lightning. He has a heaven-defying divine artifact. We're no match for him. Retreat!
The Grand Elder shouted and was about to reach out to grab the battle sword.
But suddenly, Qin Feiyong appeared in front of him out of thin air. The Grand Elder was shocked and instinctively slapped toward Qin Feiyong. However, Qin Feiyong's target was not him at all. Qin Feiyong grabbed the battle sword and disappeared without a trace in an instant.
How could this be? The Grand Elder was immediately stunned.
The moment the battle sword and Qin Feiyong disappeared, he immediately felt that he had lost contact with the battle sword. What kind of divine artifact did Qin Feiyong use that it could cut off the blood contract between him and the divine artifact?
Be careful, Grand Elder.
Suddenly,
the 2nd Elder, the 3rd Elder, the 4th Elder, and the 5th Elder shouted and rushed toward the Grand Elder at the same time. The Grand Elder quivered and came back to his senses.
He saw that Willow Tree and Yu Huang had already arrived.
Get out of my way!
Beaming Yu Huang soared into the air, instantly transforming into her true form. Her gigantic tail that resembled a mountain range slammed towards the 4 elders. Willow Tree grabbed Chong Xue and charged toward the Grand Elder. Boom! Although Yu Huang's strength was not simple, his opponents were 4 false gods after all. The 4 elders attacked at the same time and collided with the giant tail. Yu Huang was immediately sent flying.
His giant tail was smashed and blood and flesh splattered all over the sky, dyeing the sky red. However, at the same time, the Grand Elder was fatally injured. Although he came back to his senses after being reminded by the 4 elders, Willow Tree was already very close to him. It should be noted that Willow Tree was not weak either. At such a close distance, the Grand Elder could not retreat at all. He could only hastily counterattack. The result was as expected. Willow Tree used Xueqi to directly cut off one of the Grand Elder's arms and slapped the Grand Elder's lower abdomen. With a crack, the Grand Elder's lower abdomen caved in on the spot. His flesh was badly mangled and his energy reserve was also shattered. His entire body was sent flying like a dead dog. Big brother. The 4 elders hurriedly went up and caught the Grand Elder. Willow Tree also turned to look at Yu Huang and asked, "Are you all right?" "Don't worry. This emperor's life is very tough. Hurry up and kill them." Yu Huang cackled. "No problem." Willow Tree glanced at Xueqi, licked his lips, and stared at the 5 elders of the Nether Pavilion with a murderous look in his eyes. Whoosh! In the next moment, he used an assist-type divine art and charged toward the 5 of them aggressively. "Willow Tree, how long are you going to help the evildoers? Do you want to bear the name of a traitor for the rest of your life? It's not too late to turn back now." The 2nd elder and the others shouted angrily. His previous arrogance and insufferably arrogance had completely vanished, leaving behind only fear and shame. The 5 of them had come together with a god artifact, but Zhang Xian was able to turn the tables around with just a single dagger. Willow Tree alone was enough to make them lose their courage and feel helpless. If news of this spread, wouldn't the world laugh at them? Turn back? There's no need. As long as I follow the young master, I, Willow Tree, won't be afraid even if the Tower Master comes personally, let alone you old fogies. Willow Tree sneered. At the same time, Mu Xingkong looked at the unstoppable Willow Tree with fear in his eyes. But more than that, he was angry. Divine artifacts were very rare in the Black Tortoise world. Even his Heavenly Sun Empire only had a few. Once he lost a divine artifact, his Heavenly Sun Empire's strength would plummet. Most importantly, his pride couldn't bear this kind of humiliation. Whether it was in the outside world or now, he was a monstrous genius that everyone worshipped and looked up to. But now, he was defeated by ants like Qin Feiyang. However, Chang Shui's terror made him lose his temper and despair. Seeing that Willow Tree and Yu Huang didn't pay attention to him, he opened a portal and fled. "Hey, do you really think I didn't pay attention to you?" But at the same time, Yu Huang grinned. Her gigantic body was like a meteor, directly smashing towards the teleportation gate. "Damn it!" Mu Xingkong was furious and raised his hand to slap Yu Huang. "Do you think I don't exist?" However, at this time, Qin Feiyang's voice suddenly sounded behind him. Qin Feiyang suddenly appeared out of thin air. Mu Xingkong's body and mind tightened and without hesitation, he threw a punch. He was confident. This punch could directly kill Qin Feiyang. But in the end, his punch hit the air. Because Qin Feiyang entered the castle again. At this moment, Yu Huang also came down. Mu Xingkong hurriedly attacked Yu Huang. But Qin Feiyang appeared behind him again. Furthermore, it was completely silent. Chapter 1566. Clang. Mu Xingkong felt dizzy. Although he had the body of a false god, the castle was a supreme artifact. His skull cracked open on the spot. Blood gushed out. The excruciating pain made him howl in pain. "This is my chance." Yu Huang's eyes flashed with a cold light. His body quickly shrank and shot into Mu Xingkong's lower abdomen like an arrow. Ah! There was another wail, and a bloody hole appeared on Mu Xingkong's lower abdomen, penetrating from the front to the back. Gasp! Seeing this, Wang Yuanshan sucked in a breath of cold air from afar. A peerless genius was crippled by Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang just like that? Even a false god like him couldn't compare to such means. On the other side, Willow Tree was unstoppable with the Chang Shui in his hand. Like the 1st elder, the 3rd elder's cultivation had been crippled. The 2nd elder, the 4th elder, and the 5th elder still had their cultivation, but they were in a sorry state. When they saw that Mu Xingkong's cultivation was also crippled by Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang, they were even more terrified. "Run!" The second elder shouted. The fourth elder and the fifth elder immediately picked up the first elder and the third elder and ran for their lives.
Run! Did you ask for my permission? Willow Tree sneered and chased after them. The second elder stepped in front of Willow Tree and shouted without looking back. Don't worry about him.
Run, I'll stop him. Can you stop the Xueqi in my hand?
Willow Tree sneered and raised the Xueqi to attack the second elder. Clang! The Xueqi buzzed and trembled. It was as if there was an ancient demonic beast sealed inside, releasing a terrifying aura. The second elder's pupils contracted and he stared at the Xueqi. This dagger was the incarnation of the devil. It was too terrifying and made people despair. He couldn't figure it out. How could there be such a terrifying divine artifact in this world? How could such a divine artifact fall into the hands of a mere Qin Feiyong? Die, you old bastard! Willow Tree's long hair danced madly in the wind, making him look like a demon god. The resentment and humiliation he had accumulated in the Nether Pavilion over the years were completely released at this moment. Seeing Xueqi showing off his abilities, the second elder couldn't help but feel his vision go dark, as if he had lost all light. Could he really defeat this dagger? He suspected more than once.
In his heart, he did not have the slightest bit of courage to fight.
He was drowned in despair and panic. Second elder!
The fourth elder and the fifth elder shouted anxiously when they saw this. The second elder quivered and immediately woke up from the abyss of despair. He roared, "Go, don't look back.
I will definitely stop him.
Remember, avenge me."
Willow Tree was shocked. Qin Feiyong, Yu Huang, and Wang Yuanshan also looked at the second elder in surprise. Boom! The next moment, a destructive aura rushed out of the second elder's body. He's going to self-destruct his body. Retreat! Wang Yuanshan's eyes widened and he suddenly roared. He took Wang Yuer and the people of the main tower and flew away without looking back. What? Self-destruct his body? He's a false god. If he self-destructs his body, do you think we can survive? The expressions of the other people who were watching the battle from afar immediately changed. They all fled in fear, not holding back at all. Second elder!
The fourth elder and the fifth elder roared angrily again.
Quick! The second elder roared. The fourth elder gritted his teeth and looked at Qin Feiyong, Willow Tree, and Yu Huang.
He roared, "I swear that if I don't kill you, I'm not human."
Then
he turned to look at the fifth elder and shouted, "Let's go."
The fifth elder nodded, also filled with grief and anger. Then the two of them each carried one person and turned around to escape. Damn it! Willow Tree roared angrily and did not chase after them. He quickly rushed to meet up with Qin Feiyong. The power of a false god's self-destruction was not ordinary terrifying. Even if he was a false god, he would be obliterated on the spot. Quick! At the same time, Qin Feiyong also grabbed Yu Huang and anxiously shouted at him. In the face of a false god's self-destruction, how could Yu Huang dare to be negligent? He immediately took Qin Feiyong and rushed toward Willow Tree. Go to hell with me! The second elder looked at Qin Feiyong and Yu Huang. His old eyes flashed with incomparable madness. With a sinister laugh, his physical body was shattered into pieces. A wave of destructive air suddenly emerged like a torrent, with this place as the center, rolling in all directions. Willow Tree's face changed.
He exerted all of his strength, but the air wave was getting closer and closer.
A fatal crisis shrouded his heart. But just as Willow Tree was about to be swallowed by the air wave, Qin Feiyong finally arrived. He waved his hand and immediately disappeared without a trace with Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and Mu Xingxing. Boom! Crack! The air wave rolled in all directions. Looking from afar, the area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles was like an apocalypse. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Magma erupted. The wind roared between the sky and the earth, destroying everything. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyong and the others looked at this scene with fear on their faces. Although Qin Feiyong had seen the scene of a false god's self-destruction in the endless ocean, he could not help but feel frightened when he saw it again. That was close. Willow Tree was covered in cold sweat. If Qin Feiyong was one step later, the consequences would be unimaginable. Xueqi. Here you are. Taking a deep breath,
Willow Tree reluctantly erased the blood contract in Xueqi and then handed it to Qin Feiyang. This dagger was the most powerful divine artifact he had ever seen in his life. But unfortunately, it was not his dagger. It was a pity. Qin Feiyang glanced at Willow Tree, took the Xueqi, and said with a smile, "You passed my test."
Ha!
Willow Tree was stunned and asked, "What do you mean?"
"I gave you pale snow.
On one hand it was to kill the enemy. On the other hand it was to test you. If you dare to do anything bad, I will kill you without hesitation.
But you didn't, so I want to congratulate you." Qin Feiyang smiled. Willow Tree suddenly understood.
Qin Feiyang smiled and dripped blood on Xueqi again. Then he reached out his hand and said with a smile, "Now, on behalf of everyone, I formally welcome you to this big family." Fatso and the others also opened their eyes and looked at Willow Tree with smiles. Willow Tree looked at them one by one and finally fixed his eyes on Qin Feiyang. He said with a wry smile, "You are really willing to use Xueqi to test me?"
"Speaking of this,"
Willow Tree frowned and said again, "Aren't you afraid that I will really betray you?"
At that time, I had already dripped blood on Xueqi.
"Even if you erase my soul, Xueqi will not come back to you.
Xueqi will always be mine.
This will not change even if you drip blood on it."
Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. "Really?"
Willow Tree was surprised.
"To be honest,
I don't know where Xueqi came from. But somehow, I have a feeling that it is a part of my life. I can't leave it, and it can't leave me."
Qin Feiyang rubbed pale snow.
His actions were very gentle, and his gaze was also very gentle. It was as if he was supporting his own child.
"So mysterious?" Willow Tree was stunned.
Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and put away Xueqi. He looked at Willow Tree and said with a smile, "What?
Don't you want to join us?"
"Yes, yes." Willow Tree nodded repeatedly, but his expression was extremely gloomy. He said, "But we will be separated in the end."
"Because of the devil mark?"
Qin Feiyang asked.
"Yes."
Willow Tree nodded and sighed. "If the devil mark is not removed, I will never be able to leave the Black Tortoise realm." Qin Feiyang said, "Let me see your devil mark."
Willow Tree tore open his clothes.
On his chest, a blood-red ghost face entered everyone's sight. The ghost face was the size of a palm and looked like a skull, giving off a gloomy feeling. Qin Feiyang looked at it for a moment and frowned.
"Have you tried to erase this mark?"
"Of course. Not only me, everyone in the Black Tortoise realm has tried. Some people cut off the skin here. Some people used a soldering iron to destroy the mark. But not long after, the devil mark will appear again. Rumor has it that there is only one way to truly erase the devil mark, and that is to destroy the Black Tortoise realm and break the rules here. But who can destroy such a big little world?"
Willow Tree sighed.
"Destroy the Black Tortoise realm and break the rules," Qin Feiyang murmured. From the looks of it, this was indeed something that could not be done. But he always believed that nothing was absolute. "Don't be discouraged. There is always a way. I believe that there will always be a way." Qin Feiyang patted Willow Tree's shoulder and comforted him, then looked up at the scene in front of him. In the scene, the wind was whistling non-stop. Destructive fluctuations enveloped a radius of tens of thousands of miles. For a while, they would definitely not be able to get out.
He pondered for a while and turned to look at Mu Xingkong.
Mu Xingkong was lying on the side, the bloody hole in his lower abdomen was still bleeding, and his face was full of weakness. At this moment, he was looking at the ancient castle, as well as Fatso and the others. Sensing Qin Feiyang's gaze, he also raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. The moment their eyes met, invisible sparks seemed to burst out in the void. Qin Feiyang said, "Looking at Mu Tianyang's attitude towards you, your relationship in the past should not be simple."
"Of course.
The Emperor and I are not only master and disciple, but also friends. If you dare to hurt the Emperor, I will never let you go." Mu Xingkong slowly got up and smiled sinisterly.
"Who allowed you to stand up? Kneel down." Willow Tree swept behind Mu Xingkong and kicked him in the calf.
With a plop, Mu Xingkong immediately knelt in front of Qin Feiyang. "You're courting death." Mu Xingkong suddenly turned his head and stared at Willow Tree. Willow Tree screamed and said, "You still dare to be stubborn? Believe it or not, I will let you die without a complete corpse now."
Mu Xingkong's face was full of disdain.
"If you have the guts, ask Qin Feiyang to let me go. Let's fight one-on-one." "One-on-one?
Not interested.
But I am very interested in beating a peerless genius like you." Willow Tree raised the corner of his mouth, raised his hand and slapped Mu Xingkong's face hard. Puff.
Chapter 1567.
"They are both master and disciple and friends," Qin Feiyang murmured.
It seemed that Mu Xingkong was indeed a genius. Otherwise, the ruthless and arrogant Mu Tianyang would not think so highly of him. Since Mu Tianyang thought so highly of him, this person should have some value. As for Mu Xingkong, after being slapped in the face by Willow Tree in public, he exploded in an instant. He did not know where the strength came from, but he bounced up in an instant and pounced fiercely at Willow Tree. Willow Tree was extremely disdainful. A person who had his cultivation crippled actually dared to be so rash? He really did not die. Bang! He kicked again. And it hit Mu Xingkong's lifeline. Crack! Mu Xingkong flew out and crashed into the wall behind him. He immediately covered his crotch and howled miserably. His whole face was green and red, and even deformed. Obviously. Lu Mu's kick shattered his eggs and killed his bird. Willow Tree stepped forward, pinched Mu Xingkong's chin, and joked, "Genius, how does it feel to have your balls crushed? I swear, I will tear you apart." Mu Xingkong roared. Willow Tree's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Young lord, I think it's better to kill such a dangerous person to avoid future trouble." Mu Xingkong's body trembled, and a trace of fear crept up in his eyes. No matter who it was, they were all afraid of death. And a monster like Mu Xingkong cherished his life even more. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and smiled. His status in the Tiandi Empire is definitely not ordinary. Keep him alive for now. He may be of great use. Mu Xingkong heard this and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he was alive, there was still a chance. As for Willow Tree, he did not say anything more. Suddenly, Yu Huang rolled his eyes and looked at Mu Xingkong, asking, "Where is the treasury of the Tiandi Empire? Don't tell me you don't know." "The treasury." Hearing Yu Huang's words, Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Mu Xingxing's status was so high that he definitely knew the location of the treasure trove. As long as they could force the information out of him, it would be of great help in looting the treasury. Mu Xingxing was also stunned. He never thought that Yu Huang would suddenly ask such a question. He glanced at Yu Huang, then shifted his gaze to Qin Feiyang, and sneered, "You've got guts, still coveting my Heavenly Sun Empire's treasury." Yu Huang said playfully, "You're right about one thing. Our courage is really not small." Mu Xingxing's eyes flashed with hostility as he said, "The treasury is in the imperial capital of the Heavenly Sun Empire. Go if you have the ability." "Do I need you to tell me that? We also know that the treasury is in the imperial capital. What we want is the exact location," Yu Huang said angrily. "Don't even think about it." Mu Xingxing sneered. "Let's see if you won't cry until you're in the coffin." Yu Huang smiled ferociously and immediately rushed up to beat him up. But no matter what methods Yu Huang used, Mu Xingxing refused to speak. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, turned to Willow Tree and said, "You don't know where their treasury is? How can an outsider like me know such an important place?" Willow Tree was helpless. "That's true." Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at Yu Huang, and said, "No matter what, we have to force him to speak." "Leave it to me." Yu Huang laughed. "Qin Feiyang, I swear that you will die a very, very miserable death. Not only you, the great Qin Empire left behind by your ancestor Qin Batian will be destroyed by my Heavenly Sun Empire sooner or later." Mu Xingxing roared with resentment. "Destroyed? Humph. Back then, my ancestor could destroy your Heavenly Sun Empire. Now, I, Qin Feiyang, can also destroy you remnants here." Qin Feiyang snorted, murderous intent surging in his eyes. "With just you? What a joke, what a joke. You'll never understand how powerful the Heavenly Sun Empire is. You're digging your own grave. Ha ha." Mu Xingxing laughed wildly.
Even though Yu Huang was torturing him by any means, it still couldn't stop him from mocking Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was too lazy to argue and glanced at the altar. There was a battle sword on the altar. There was a grain-sized opening on the blade. It was the battle sword that Qin Feiyang had snatched from the Nether Hall's Grand Elder. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the battle sword fell into his hand, letting out an ear-piercing sound. This battle sword is called the Seven-Star Sword. It's said that after fully recovering, it can summon the Big Dipper and use the power of the stars to fight. Although it's not as good as Chong Shui and the ancient castle, it's still considered an extremely powerful divine artifact in the Black Tortoise world. It's a pity that there's an opening now. And to repair a divine artifact, apart from those master blacksmiths, ordinary people can't do it at all.
Willow Tree felt regretful.
The Seven-Star Sword came from the Nether Hall. As an elder of the Nether Hall, Willow Tree naturally knew it well.
As long as it's not broken, it won't be affected. Here,
Qin Feiyang said and directly threw the Seven-Star Sword to Willow Tree.
Willow Tree's face was dull. He actually gave the Seven-Star Sword to him? Was this a dream? One had to know.
This wasn't an ordinary weapon, but a divine artifact. Did the young master not care at all? But Yu Huang was anxious when he saw this situation. He hurriedly left Mu Xingkong and ran to Qin Feiyang, saying angrily, "You're not fair, I did the most work before, why should I give it to him?"
Qin Feiyang said speechlessly, "Don't you already have a divine artifact? Why are you still fighting for it?"
This matter can't be generalized, it has to be separated. As a person, you can't favor one over another.
Yu Huang said discontentedly.
Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and said, "I've already given it out, it's impossible for me to take it back. Let's wait for next time. The next time I get a divine artifact, I'll give it to you." Yu Huang still wanted to say something. Qin Feiyang said unhappily, "Don't you want the potential pill and the spirit congealing pill?"
Yu Huang's body stiffened, and he said, "Okay, I'll listen to you."
Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed.
But Mu Xingkong suffered.
Yu Huang's belly full of anger was vented onto him.
"You're really giving it to me?"
Willow Tree looked at the Seven-Star Sword and still found it hard to imagine.
"Isn't this in your hands?
You don't want it?
Come on, give it back to me."
Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand.
"Of course I want it."
Willow Tree quickly hid the Seven-Star Sword behind him and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Quickly erase the blood contract."
"Okay."
Willow Tree nodded and merged his divine sense into the Seven-Star Sword, forcibly erasing the Great Elder's blood contract.
At the same time,
deep in the mountains, in the main hall of an ancient castle, the Great Elder and the Third Elder were sitting cross-legged, repairing their qi. The Fourth Elder and the Fifth Elder sat at the side with gloomy expressions on their faces.
Puff! Suddenly,
the Great Elder's body trembled violently, and he spat out a mouthful of old blood. The Third Elder opened his eyes and looked at him in shock. The Fourth Elder and the Fifth Elder immediately got up and ran to the Great Elder.
They asked with concern, "What's wrong? Are your injuries too serious?"
"No. The blood contract in the Seven-Star Sword has been erased," the Great Elder said in a deep voice.
"What?" They heard it. The three of them were shocked.
"Damn Qin Feiyang, damn Willow Tree, I won't let you go," the Third Elder roared. This time, they had sent out 5 false gods, but not only did they fail to capture Willow Tree, but they also lost a divine artifact and a false god. It was simply a calamity to the Nether Pavilion. How should we explain this to the 2 palace lords? The Fourth Elder sighed. The Great Elder, the Third Elder, and the Fifth Elder also fell silent. With such a huge loss, the 2 hall masters would definitely not let them off easily.
Swish! Suddenly,
a black figure descended into the main hall out of thin air. He was 7 feet tall and had a thin figure. He wore a black mask that covered half of his face. However, it was not hard to tell that this person was a middle-aged man from his figure and the other half of his face. Those dark eyes were filled with a majesty that made people feel fear in their hearts. The Great Elder and the others' expressions changed when they saw this person. They quickly knelt on one knee and bowed. "Greetings, Vice Palace Lord." The masked man did not say anything. He walked to the chair at the front and sat on it. He looked down at the four of them with eyes as sharp as an eagle's. The four of them lowered their heads and did not even dare to breathe loudly. The atmosphere in the hall became extremely heavy. The four of them exchanged glances. The great elder gritted his teeth and mustered his courage. He looked up at the Vice Palace Lord and said, "My lord, please listen to our explanation." Slap.
It would have been better if he did not speak.
As soon as he spoke, the Vice Palace Lord stood up, landed in front of him, and slapped his old face. The great elder was sent flying on the spot. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. However, he did not dare to complain.
He got up in a sorry state and quickly knelt in his original position.
The Vice Palace Lord returned to the chair above.
This time,
the four great elders did not dare to speak anymore.
They were extremely hesitant.
After some time, the Vice Palace Lord finally spoke. He looked at the four of them and said, "I already know everything that happened in Peach Blossom City.
You don't need to explain. My lord, please forgive us."
The four of them trembled and hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged.
"This time, you've completely disgraced our nether hall.
However, it has already happened.
It's meaningless for me to blame you. I'll give you another chance to make up for your mistakes."
The Vice Palace Lord said.
"Thank you, my lord."
The four of them were overjoyed.
"After you recover, no matter what method you use, you must bring the 7-star sword and the willow tree back to me. As for Qin Feiyong, capture him alive if you can. Kill him if you can't. However, we must obtain the dagger in his hand and the spatial divine item on him."
The Vice Palace Lord said. His eyes filled with greed.
"Yes."
The four of them replied respectfully. The Vice Palace Lord said, "Don't fail again. Otherwise you know the consequences."
"Understood."
The four of them hurriedly nodded.
Whoosh.
The Vice Palace Lord glanced at the four of them and instantly disappeared. Only then did the four of them stand up and let out a long breath.
"First Elder, what should we do?"
The dagger in Qin Feiyong's hand can easily destroy the Heavenly Sun Empire's Azure Rainbow Sword. It's impossible for us to kill him, the third elder said as he looked at the first elder. The fourth elder and the fifth elder were also deeply worried.
This matter hasn't reached the point where it can't be solved. Although Qin Feiyong is powerful, it's not just our nether hall in the Black Tortoise world. There are others who want to kill him. The first elder sneered.
"You mean the people from the Heavenly Sun Empire?" The third elder said.
"That's right. The Heavenly Sun Empire and the Great Qin Empire have a blood feud. Now that Mu Shinkong is in the hands of Qin Feiyong and his fate is unknown, the people from the Heavenly Sun Empire won't let this matter go. We just need to watch the tigers fight from afar. Moreover, I believe the Vanga League and the Fengtian Palace won't just stand by and watch." The first elder smiled, but his smile was a little scary. "Good idea." The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Chapter 1568. Peach Blossom City.
Everything within a radius of tens of thousands of miles had been razed to the ground.
The people gathered in the distance looked at the dust and smoke surging in the void, their faces full of fear. Wang Yuanshan's heart could not calm down. He actually forced the second elder of the Nether Hall to self-destruct? This method really made people tremble with fear. Many people were now using the image crystal to spread the news.
Let go of me, let go of me. Among them,
a furious roar could be heard. Wang Yuanshan turned his head and saw Wang Yuer being grabbed by the two burly men, struggling with all her might. Wang Yuanshan frowned and waved his hand. Let go of her. Yes. The two men responded respectfully and let go of Wang Yuer. Qin Feiyong, you can't die. Wang Yuer immediately ran toward the dust and smoke area, tears streaming down her face. What are you doing? Wang Yuanshan was shocked. He hurriedly reached out and grabbed Wang Yuer, saying angrily. Wang Yuer said, I want to see if Qin Feiyong is dead. Let go. If it was an ordinary person who self-destructed, she would not be worried because the ancient castle was protecting Qin Feiyong. But the one who self-destructed was a false god. How terrifying was the self-destruction of a false god? Could the ancient castle withstand it? Wang Yuanshan said angrily, I forbid you from going. You're courting death. I'm willing to die. Let go. Wang Yuer roared. Smack. The furious Wang Yuanshan slapped Wang Yuer's cheek. You actually hit me? Even father, mother, and grandfather didn't hit you. You actually hit me?
Wang Yuer looked at Wang Yuanshan in disbelief.
I hit you to calm you down.
Do you know how terrifying the self-destruction of a false god is? If you barge in now, let me tell you, even the gods won't be able to save you. Wang Yuanshan shouted.
I don't care. I want to go in.
If I really die inside, it's all your fault.
If you hadn't leaked the secret, this wouldn't have happened at all. Wang Yuer held her cheek, her eyes filled with hatred. Wang Yuanshan fell silent. His original intention was not to force Qin Feiyang to his death. Instead, he wanted to use the Nether Pavilion to force Qin Feiyang to compromise and apologize to Wang Yuer.
However, he did not expect that the development of the situation would far exceed his expectations. However, as a false god, it was impossible for him to put down his pride and apologize to a descendant.
Humph. Wang Yuanshan snorted and said, Actually, you should know in your heart that Qin Feiyang doesn't like you.
Wang Yuer's delicate body trembled, and her face turned pale.
When I first met him, I could already tell that he didn't have any feelings for you. It was just your own wishful thinking.
Wang Yuer added.
Stop talking.
Please don't say any more.
Wang Yuer hugged her head, shaking her head and roaring in pain. Child, accept reality. When both parties work together, that's what true feelings are. You won't get anything in return for liking someone one-sidedly. Besides, there are plenty of young people who are more outstanding than him in this world. Why do you want to hang yourself on him? Wang Yuanshan persuaded.
I won't listen, I won't listen. Wang Yuer squatted in the void, covering her ears like a helpless child, looking particularly miserable.
Sigh. Wang Yuanshan sighed deeply. How could the Wang family have such a foolish descendant? Looking at Wang Yuer's painful appearance, he hated Qin Feiyang even more. Wang Yuanshan squatted down and hugged Wang Yuer, saying, I'm sorry, it was grandfather's fault just now. I shouldn't have hit you. Grandfather apologizes to you. Grandfather, what should I do? I know that he doesn't like me, but I just can't control myself. There's only room for him in my heart. I can't live without him.
Wang Yuer burst into tears with a wail.
Silly child.
Wang Yuanshan's heart ached and he asked, Do you really want to go and take a look?
Wang Yuer nodded. All right.
Grandfather will bring you in, but if he's already dead, I hope that you can slowly forget him.
Wang Yuanshan said. When Wang Yuer heard this, her face turned pale again. Seeing this, Wang Yuanshan's heart ached.
He smiled and said, Get up.
Wang Yuer got up obediently. Wang Yuanshan waved his hand, and a divine power barrier appeared, carefully protecting Wang Yuer. Then, he took Wang Yuer to the dusty area. The wind was blowing. Destructive waves of air continued to surge. If not for Wang Yuanshan's protection, Wang Yuer would have been torn apart by the storm as soon as she entered. But at this moment, Wang Yuer turned a blind eye to all of this. She grabbed the corner of her clothes tightly, and her hands had turned white. She was extremely nervous and apprehensive. She was afraid that she would never see that man again. She was more worried that if that man didn't die when he saw her, would he hate her even more? Because in the end, all of this was caused by her. If she hadn't told grandfather about the willow tree, even if grandfather wanted to harm her, he wouldn't have found a chance. It could be said that, from birth until now, her heart had never been as uneasy as at this moment. Soon, she stood in the center of the explosion. There was a pit here, very deep and very big. Looking down from the sky, it was like a dried-up sea. But here, she didn't see anything. However, she didn't despair. Because, if Qin Feiyang was still alive, then he must be in the castle and couldn't be seen with the naked eye. She turned her head to look at Wang Yuanshan with pleading eyes. Wang Yuanshan sighed and released his divine sense, covering all directions. Suddenly, his heart trembled.
At the bottom of the deep pit, he caught sight of the castle.
His heart was filled with disbelief.
First, it was bombarded by the Azure Rainbow Sword and the Seven-Star Sword, and then it was bombarded by the Second Elder Self-Explosion, but this space divine object was still there?
This was too terrifying.
Grandfather, Did you find it?
Seeing Wang Yuanshan silent for a long time, Wang Yuer asked nervously. Wang Yuanshan came back to his senses, and a light flashed in the depths of his eyes.
He shook his head and sighed. I didn't find it.
What?
Wang Yuer's body and mind trembled.
The power of the false god's self-explosion is comparable to the full blow of the war god. I think he should have been annihilated together with the space divine object. Wang Yuanshan said. I don't believe it. Qin Feiyong, come out quickly, I beg you, don't die, okay?
I apologize to you. I used to listen to you and never talk too much.
Wang Yuer lay powerlessly in the void, looking at the deep pit below, muttering to herself, her face full of self-blame. Child, the dead can't be brought back to life. My condolences. Wang Yuanshan patted Wang Yuer's shoulder and comforted her. However, Wang Yuer turned a deaf ear. Tears had already blurred her vision.
Lying in the void, her whole body was trembling, and there was no trace of life in her eyes.
It's all my fault. I caused your death. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Since we can't be together in life, then let's continue our fate in the underworld. Wait for me, I won't let you be alone. I will always be with you until the last moment. Suddenly, she got up, took out a dagger, and slit her neck without hesitation. Wang Yuanshan's expression changed, and his old big hand slammed down.
With a clang, the dagger flew out from Wang Yuer's hand and plunged into the ground below.
What are you doing? Committing suicide for a person who doesn't like you at all. Are you worthy of your parents who raised you and your grandfather who loved you? Wang Yuanshan roared. He's dead, what's the point of me living? Wang Yuer muttered to herself, her eyes empty, like a walking corpse. Silly.
This old man will never allow you to do anything to hurt yourself.
Wang Yuanshan snorted coldly, released his divine power, and imprisoned Wang Yuer before returning the way he came. In the ancient castle, everyone, all the beasts, were looking at the scene in the void in front of them. The scene showed Wang Yuer's back. No one spoke. Inside the ancient castle, there was dead silence. Until Wang Yuer's back disappeared in the dust, everyone retracted their gaze and turned to look at Qin Feiyong, who was standing by the side silently. However, still no one spoke. Because love was a personal matter, they had no way to persuade her, nor were they qualified to intervene. Qin Feiyong looked at the scene silently. Although she had left, those words had been lingering in his mind. He's dead, what's the point of me living? It was this sentence that deeply touched his heart. At this moment, his heart was in a mess. After a long time, he took a deep breath, turned to look at everyone, and said with a faint smile, It's okay, go do what you need to do. Just from his expression, no one could tell what he was thinking at this moment. Qin Feiyong said, Willow Tree, come out with me. Willow Tree was taken aback and nodded. Okay. After saying that, the power of the fake god surged and condensed into a barrier. Then Qin Feiyong appeared in the deep pit with Willow Tree.
Where are we going now?
Willow Tree asked. The capital of the Tianyang Empire. Qin Feiyong said. Willow Tree's heart shuddered. This was the rhythm of wanting to wipe out the people of the Tianyang Empire. Wait. Suddenly, Willow Tree seemed to have thought of something, looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Before going to the Tianyang Empire, let's find the Azure Rainbow Sword. Why are you looking for the Azure Rainbow Sword? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. The Azure Rainbow Sword had been destroyed. What was the point of looking for it? Although the Azure Rainbow Sword was cut in two by Chang Shui, the material used to forge the Azure Rainbow Sword is real divine iron. Every divine iron is very precious in today's world. So I think it's necessary to keep it. If one day we're lucky and meet a divine-level weapon refining master, we can find him to reforge it. Willow Tree laughed. So it's like that. Qin Feiyong suddenly understood and nodded. Okay, you go find it, I'll wait for you here. Okay. Willow Tree nodded. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and Yu Huang appeared. Yu Huang condensed a barrier to replace Willow Tree's barrier. With Yu Huang protecting Qin Feiyong, Willow Tree was relieved and immediately went to find the Azure Rainbow Sword. Time passed by breath. Shwa! Suddenly, a red-haired old man appeared above Qin Feiyong and Yu Huang. He stood in the void and looked down at Qin Feiyong with an aggressive gaze. Yu Huang looked up and immediately became alert. As if facing a great enemy. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.